the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Powerbombshells 215. I'm Mel. That's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we're watching and a lot of other crazy things that are happening.
Yeah.
Happy to see you guys in the comments. Welcome. Daza, I appreciate you.
Yes. Daza, we thank you for being prepared. We were a little late today because I can't tell if Miley's not feeling well today, and she was laying in my bed, and I was like, I don't want to repeat of what happened a few weeks ago where she got sick. So Nikki and I were giving her a little bit of medication just to be on the safe side and luring her from out of here so that Nikki could keep an eye on her during the podcast. And so that's why we were a little late. And then also I wanted to bring this up, and I'm glad that Daza, he predicted that you would be wearing a straw hat with rainbow colors, but I am wearing a shirt that just says all for one. And I just wanted to say, before we get any further, happy Pride Month to all who celebrate. If you've been here for a long time, that you know that even though Mel and I are not in that community, we are very supportive of that community, and we know things have been really rough. I mean, it feels like we say this all the time. It's been really rough, especially for people in the trans community. And we just want you to know that we see you and we appreciate you, and we are here for you, and we know things are rough, but we are thinking of you always. So just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that now and anytime, really. It doesn't have to just be June for us to recognize that, but we just definitely, before we got any further into the show, I just wanted to, we wanted to make sure we spread that message that we are with you.
It used to be one of my favorite months when I was living out in Seattle, honestly, because it's so great in the city and everyone's so great. And like you said, it sucks right now. And yeah, my friends and neighbors, I love you. Be you.
Yeah. Yep, I have friends and family who are in the community, and things are really scary for them.
Yeah,
right now. And even still, you don't have to know anybody in that community to know that things are really scary right now, especially in this country. It's definitely scary in other places as well, but definitely here in the U.S. with a lot of the legislation that's trying to be passed, and there have been an uptick in violence and murder of trans people within the last few weeks in this country. And some of it is due to the rhetoric that is happening in government spaces. And so, definitely want to make sure that we recognize that, because it's an awful thing that should not be happening. There's not really like a good way to transition out of that, but we'll put here's a good way to transition. It's National Chocolate Ice Cream Day.
There you go, National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. Awesome.
Before we forget, I have not been spoiled on the Bosch J finals yet. If you have seen it, don't put it in the chat. Somehow Nikki and I have not been spoiled, and we've been going off of vibes, and I didn't realize we should have been watching. Apparently, we should have been vibing with Master Watto, because I didn't realize how well he was doing until we got to the semis. We watched the semis last night. And so the finals were today. And so we have not been spoiled. So if you have seen it, please keep it to yourself. Hopefully, we're planning to try to get to it tonight so that we don't get spoiled. But we did from the Bosch J matches we watched were pretty good. And I'm sure there were even more that we missed, but just because of time, we just didn't get to them. But Nick Wayne, I'm already a fan of his, but he had a really great BOSJ this year.
Right.
And I have one of his match with Teton is on my match of the year contender list. And then he has two honorable mention matches. The one with Jun Kasai, which was prior to the one with Teton, was great. And then he had a really great match with Master Watto. He got the main event in Bosch J this year. But he's just definitely, you can tell he's leveled up a lot and going to as with most wrestlers, going to Japan really helps him. And I mean, Nick is already, clearly he's a prodigy, and he's already very good, but I thought he looked great in the tournament this year. And so I'm excited to see how that translates when he comes back to ROH/AEW, because he looked really good this year.
Right on. Yeah. I haven't done as many matches as I want to, but I haven't also been spoiled on it. So yes, please don't put that in the chat if you're here. You're just joining us, or if you've been here the whole time.
Right. Crash.
Thank you, Crash. Yes.
Crash has spoiled it for us. He says Gedo came out, destroyed everyone, and crowned himself king of the Bosch days, which sounds completely on brand.
I mean, that would be a Gedo thing to do.
I don't want to give away. If you have not yet, go watch the semifinal between Robbie Eagles and Fujita.
Cool.
Because just go watch that. And then after you watch it, you can rage at Gedo with me.
Awesome.
That's a match that you can't go wrong with a winner. But then I also was like, because I love them both, and so I was excited either way. But
you're like, I win.
But yes, I did win, but also I still got a little sad. And then Gedo made, because of his booking decision, there were tears after that match. So I was like, Gedo, how dare you?
Uh-oh, Sam's got beef with Gedo.
Oh, yes.
We actually saw him when we were in New York. It was so random.
Did you?
Yeah, it was so funny when we were after the Madison Square Garden. Or it was like before or after we saw him. Like, I can't remember which day, but he was like getting into a cab with a like much taller, beautiful woman. So.
That sounds about right. Good for Gedo.
You go, Gedo.
Daza wants to know, because he's curious, are any of you Americans, Canadians looking forward to the World Cup? I know.
But do you want to answer? Because I have an answer to this.
No, I know you do. That's what I'm saying. I am not much of a soccer fan, and I think it's really cool. I think it's great. I think the timing is awful, just because of what is going. I think any other time, this would be the perfect time to do it. You would think it being, America 250, because America 250 is what was happening before, but then
it got co-opted by the weirdos.
It got co-opted into Freedom 250, and that has turned into its own thing, which has been a disaster. I think had it just been the America 250 and also not that orange man in charge and all of the other things, I think that it would have been incredible. I think that more people would probably be excited. I'm sure, because we have Charlotte FC, who they share a stadium with the Panthers, and I believe they've done pretty well. And there's a lot of excitement for them. I think they sell out like all of their games and things like that. So I'm sure, I know that there's excitement here, but I think there would be even more for people who don't even watch soccer if it weren't for everything else. Like, this is a terrible time. And I hate that for the people who are coming here and who are probably afraid to come here, and all of those things. And I hate that for them. But I think if maybe it was under different circumstances, for me, I would think that the excitement would be a lot different.
So, as a former player my entire life and a coach, I've worked 7 years. I ran a business. I ran a soccer company out in the Pacific Northwest. I ran 18 cities and soccer camps and soccer school and all the whole thing. So I call it football sometimes. It's okay. The round one is a football. The one on the NFL is a hand egg. It's all good. I want to be excited about the World Cup. I am angry that I cannot be excited about the World Cup because already things have happened. So Charlotte FC is in Champions League with Detroit City FC. That is the USL. That's USL 1, USL 2, and the Champions League USL. This is a new grassroots soccer thing that's been growing all over America for years. As a person who grew up in a sport that was very foreign to Americans back in the 20th century when I played, people had no clue about it. So when the women won the World Cup in 99, I was late for work because they went to penalty shootout. And I was not leaving that house until I saw that result. And it was right after I lost my dad, and it sucked because he was the reason I played, because he was a coach and a player.
Right.
I have been all over the country. I have played teams from all over North America. I have patches downstairs I found last year that were from my club team. I can't believe, I didn't even realize how many patches I had from how many states. I had something like 42 states that I played teams against over the course of my playing time.
Yeah.
So for me, and we are on the 20th of June, we just found out we are going to see Detroit City FC at the Keyworth Stadium here locally. And that just got announced that they're going to be broadcasting that game nationally on ESPN2, which our supporters are going to lose they already have it. That's how I found out about it. When we score goals or big things happen at the Key, they start lighting off smoke canisters like they do in Europe. You can't see on the field after a goal. You can't see the pitch. You can't see the players. It looks like a fog has descended across the place. It's amazing. People, and in the same, so in USL 1 are the Portland Hearts of Pine, which is in Maine, which is where my sister and brother-in-law are also members. They're supporters. That team's 2 years old. They have a 6-year waiting list right now for season. 6 years. Watch them on the TV as well. If you ever want to watch Detroit, I'm sure Charlotte, we play you guys. That's how I know. Yeah. Charlotte Battery, I believe. One of a former Portland Hearts of Pine player who is a fullback, is now playing for your team.
Oh, nice.
Yes. And so he is right in your area. So he's great. And it's amazing. And so we should all be super happy, because this is for me, from my perspective, this is the biggest soccer has been in America in the history of the time that we've had.
I would agree with that. And that's somebody who doesn't, keep up with soccer. And I know, there's
never been like this before. It's never had, we had to stay up late and watch ESPN in Spanish to get a football game from the Mexican leagues, or when we went down to Rhode Island to visit my grandparents, we might stay up late and get one on one of the foreign channels that come in there that don't come in that far north where we are.
Yeah.
So that's all the football you could watch. Now I can go online. I watch the Hearts games every week. I went to the game when I was home. So I went to the opener, which was amazing. And their supporters are amazing. They've got a great little team there. It was beautiful. It was pouring rain. It was 55 degrees. It was just like I remember playing soccer when I was a kid. It felt like a soccer. I was like, heck yeah, my feet are wet and I do not care. It's amazing. It was perfect. They even it was great. They drew. It was amazing. So for popularity wise, as a player, back in the day when I had to explain all of this stuff to people, I don't have to explain it to anybody.
Right.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about now, or at least a good chunk of people. And that's freaking awesome. Yeah. And I can watch them all on TV, and I can get a game in anything I want. And I can go on my Paramount Plus or whichever one it is. And I can watch all the Champions League and all the Premier League and all the everything I want. And it's amazing. It's just like wrestling. So, yeah. And for my sister and brother-in-law, they watch Premier League. They watch Champions League. All these players went home to play on their national teams.
Yeah.
So for them, they get to watch all these players that are usually playing together play against each other, and they're going to be able to pick and choose. And that's for a lot of people now in America.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the World Baseball Classic.
Correct.
That's what they do. They go back and play, for their teams and stuff. And they play obviously one of our big ones where Ronald Acuna and Ozzy Albies were playing against each other and their teammates. And so there was a bunch of trash talk between them before. And the World Baseball Classic is very similar in that way.
There is a mixed tournament going on right now, a 7-on-7 men's and women's co-ed tournament that's for $1 million that our Champions League teams are playing in. It says I think it's a round robin, but I can't remember. The point is that it's the biggest it's ever been in America. Mm-hmm. Finally, people are getting it. They're awesome. Yeah. They're saying, I lived out in Seattle when the Sounders were there, so I've kind of had it the whole time because the Sounders were huge. And people used to talk to me when I would go places. They'd be like, "Oh, I want to come see a football game at your stadium because it's as close. Everyone says it's as close as you're going to get to see in a European soccer game." And I'm like, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a 68,500 seater that they play in at the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
We had a game, America versus Mexico, come into town in that stadium. They sold standing room up to something like 70,000, like up to what they could max out. That place was packed.
That's crazy.
Hanging from the rafters. I had a Parks and Rec. So that was in Seattle.
Yeah.
She brought a group because she from Olympia on a. She drove them in a. They did one of the tour buses, and so she drove them up for that game. It took her. That's about a 4-hour drive, 3-4 hours. It took her almost 12 hours to get them home from Seattle to Olympia after that game. That's how
my God,
that game was.
That's insane.
Years ago. That's like the odds, I think, or maybe the tens.
That's crazy.
And it's come even further. It's like that New England where you get the Revolution. You've got the Dallas teams are huge and always have been. That's where Clint Dempsey's from. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to be excited, but I'll give you an example. So, Tucson is in the USL as also, and the USL has been partnering with the national teams because they have been putting the national teams up. They are using their facilities, so they're closing down their play right now so they can put up national teams from all the different countries. Tucson, Arizona, and their team was going to put up the Iranian team. Well, it came out this week that they decided that they didn't want that happening in Tucson. Whoever decided, they took that away from that USL team, the Tucson USL team. And now the Iranian team, the Mexicans stepped up and said, you can stay here at this facility. But so now the Iranian team is playing all of their group stages in the United States, which means they have to cross the border from Mexico to America and go back from America to Mexico every time they have to play in their group stages.
Wow.
Get the F out of here.
Yeah.
That's one example already where I was like, already the shenanigans, it just started. This was like last week.
Yeah. Oh no, I saw some stuff about it, and then I know there's some stuff about too, like with now they're not allowing them to bring in closed water bottles because that was the thing that like in most places you can bring in 2 closed water bottles for any sporting event, and I saw that they're not allowing that at the World Cup now. And then I saw something about I guess they put some tickets up at like a discounted price and people bought them and they weren't supposed to be discounted or they weren't supposed to be that price, and then they were trying to make those people pay full price for the tickets they had already purchased, and it was their fault. And I saw something about that they were trying to make them pay full price for the ticket for their mistake, which is on brand for this country. So so it's already starting. So
and that was this week before anything even started. I know some of the games started yesterday. I, as a person who was super duper hype, and I want to be excited about it, and this is like the year for us to have it, and it should be a celebration of the world's game. We're finally getting it. We're finally jumping on board. America isn't a loner anymore. We get to join in with the whole rest of the globe. The whole round ball has this round ball at their feet. I don't have to speak any language. I can go to any country. I can drop that ball at my feet, and I can speak to a person by play. We talk the same language with the ball at our feet.
Yeah.
So
Crash wants to know how the women's pro soccer is in the States. It's really blown up in Europe in particular the last several years. It's still behind the men's, but it has been elevated greatly.
It's coming up. So the same USL also has women's Champions League, and we here in Detroit, and I believe you also in your city, have a women's portion of the club. So DCFC women and DCFC men are part of the club here in Detroit. So yes, we, as a matter of fact, the game we're going to on the 20th is a doubleheader. It's the women and the men.
Awesome.
And for those of you who want your little wrestling crossover, Fulham women's team is sponsored by AEW. So if you go and you look at their kits, there's one that's black with gold lettering and gold stripes with the Fulham badge. It says AEW right across it. You may and as a matter of fact, somebody on one of the shows recently, a Dynamite show, was
saying that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Wearing one in the crowd. That is, I had a chuckle because I was like, I wonder if he knows that's the women's club.
Right. Hopefully he does.
I hope he does, but who knows? But I was chuckling because I was like, But yeah, I mean, that's a really long answer to your question, but unfortunately it should be a celebration, and it should be, this is like the year that this should be awesome. And because of the shenanigans at the top already, I mean, I hope the game can transcend.
Yeah. I hope for the people who are attending the games and things like that, that they are able to really, and that who are excited about this and can go to watch parties and things like that. I hope that they really enjoy the experience and that it gets to be everything that they want it to be, despite everything else. I hope it's very successful, and I hope that people enjoy it. And
me too.
Things like that. Hi, Fernando,
and transcends all this.
And Jordan, thanks for being here. You came in on Soccer Talk. Daza asked a question, and then so we were weighing in, or Mel was weighing in on that. And since you are here a few minutes late, I will bring it up again. I have not seen. If you happen to know who, who won Bashe, please don't tell me. I have somehow avoided it so far. I did watch the semifinals last night. And so I do not know who won. And
I feel like I should make a little ticker right now that says,
I know.
Obviously,
it's not that big of a deal, because in wrestling, it's very hard to not get spoiled on things, and I have not been spoiled. I mean, maybe people just don't care about Bashe as much, but I have not, or at least maybe I haven't been on Twitter much today, so maybe that's part of it too, is being hidden from me. But I'm hoping to make it till I get to it. Hopefully, the plan is to get to it this evening. But it was. I have enjoyed it, and so hopefully I can get to it. And then I know that Dominion is coming up next Sunday. I believe is Dominion.
Dominion's such a good show every year.
And
I always love Dominion.
Yeah, Dominion's always really good. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we have Forbidden Door.
I know, right?
It's already forbidden.
I can't believe how fast that happened.
No spoiler sticker, or fear the wrath of the PBS. Oh, and also, I wanted to go back to what Curry had asked, do I have, because I did mention a decision that Ghetto made, and he asked who I got more beef with, and the answer is always FTR.
Always
FTR. And yes, I did see your other comment. It was nice to not have them on my TV this week. I appreciated the break. And also, I guess Tony I guess the discourse about women's wrestling got to him. I don't know if it will stay this way or if it's just for now, but the women bookended Collision last night.
Yeah, you're right.
The tag titles. The tag title match was first. It got, I think, 10.5 minutes. The main event was Hazuki versus Persephone, and then they had afterwards they had the stuff with Mercedes. And I think that match got 12.5 minutes. So they got about 23 minutes of TV time last night, of match time. That's not even, some of the other stuff. So I don't know that if this will continue, but I was like, that must have really, because he booked the Hazuki match last week and pulled her off of a Stardom main event she was supposed to be in. And then they had that last night. I was like, I think it really got to him. What people were saying, and rightfully so. Everybody was rightfully angry for that. Maybe it is just for show, and it's like for a week to maybe quiet the crowd a little bit. But I did appreciate it. I did appreciate them both being able to open and close the show, and I appreciated that they each match got time, which was nice to see. And then we had the run-in stuff at the end of it. We got the really great, and we'll talk about it more because we have some unfortunate other stuff to talk about. But
Yeah.
I did. I was like, I did appreciate that much. Maybe it is just to placate us. It worked last night. I don't know that it's gonna be. I don't know that it's gonna be, something we're gonna see. There are 2 women's matches on Dynamite this week. We're getting 2 tournament matches. So,
Nice.
maybe it's just for a few weeks, but I guess that argument really got to Tony.
Finally.
I don't know. I don't expect it to last long, but while it is here, I'll enjoy it.
Totally.
Hear the return. Yes, and then Curryhead is just
Loves
trying
playing with you.
Yes, he says now we just need to have the dream match of Motor City Machine Guns versus FTR with FTR going over out of the building and never coming back.
I am gonna make a bold prediction
Uh-huh.
that at the Dynamite and Collision show in Detroit that I am attending at the end of, I
I was
believe
going to ask. I saw tickets went on sale.
July. We are going. As a matter of fact,
are you going both nights
by ourselves most of the times? But my mother-in-law likes to watch with us. She told us the next time it comes around to make sure and tell her so that she can come with us.
Nice.
So we are taking her to Dynamite and because she want to go to both. Taking her to Dynamite and Collision. So this will be her 1, 2. So this will be her 3rd and 4th live wrestling events.
Awesome.
And she's gonna get a heck of a show because Detroit always shows up when.
That's what I was gonna say. Those shows should be great. And if I can't tell if I kind of, because people will be mad about it, but I almost think Motor City debuting on Collision to get people to come the second night.
Yep.
Would be smart, but people are like, why are you doing on Collision? For the Collision haters, Collision is usually the better wrestling show.
Agreed.
Sometimes Dynamite, now they're pretty even, but
they've been good.
A lot of times Collision tends to be the better wrestling show, as far as matches go. But either way, or you could have them my guess is they'll probably debut them at Dynamite. They have the match on Collision.
Yeah,
probably. So that
they show up and call somebody out on Dynamite and then wrestle on Collision.
That's my guess. Then also, while we're talking about it, I don't know if you probably did, but during the backstage promo segment with the Dogs and the Bucks, no, I actually made a ticker and I just saw it.
I had to pop you. I did it for the pop. It worked.
I appreciate that. But so the backstage segment with the Dogs and the Bucks last week, they come up and Nick says he made a reference to New Day, and he said, "Who let the dogs out? Who? Because New Day always does the who." And it was a very nonchalant. It was just a very no energy to it. But I caught it, and I was like, "Oh, I see what you did there, Nick."
I remember it, but I didn't think about it like that. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I heard it because Matt looked at him really, and I was like, and then apparently earlier they had a live BTE a BTE mailbag that I believe raised money for IMALS.org, and they raised $3,000, I think. But they made another New Day reference on the BTE mailbag, apparently. So they are definitely not being very subtle about it.
Why wouldn't you pursue them is really the actual, didn't catch what thing? Which didn't I catch?
She didn't catch the who.
Oh, the who. No, I missed it. Yeah,
I
didn't. I remember it now that you say it, and I remember him saying it, but I didn't think of the context of it.
Yes.
It makes total sense when you say it. I'm like, oh, duh. It's so easy. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They're amazing tag teams. They're a huge draw. You've got to pull them in some of these big shows that are coming up.
Yeah.
So
New Day is, while they're not free to wrestle anywhere, they have been free to do autograph signings. And so they've been going to different cons, and there was one, they were at Asheville Con, and that's when the person in the Kenny Omega shirt came up, and they were like threatening the fan. They were like, if Kenny Omega sports it, he's like, he's not going to show up here, and if he did, I would punch him on sight. Like, and then somebody else wore a Kenny Omega shirt to another con like a few days later, or like a week later, or something like that, and they like had him in Austin's Insta story, and he was like saying he was talking trash about Kenny Omega. So they're both teasing things, which I mean, of course, you could just be, oh, they're just trying to rile up the internet, but like, really, where else is New Day going? I mean, maybe they'll go to Japan.
They're like all friends. They
are, and they've been trying to get this to happen for a while. And yeah, I mean, so I
hope so.
I would
be so fun to see Kenny with them. Oh my god, they're gonna be hilarious. That's gonna take it if they show up in AEW.
I want to see them both in tag action and singles action. Like,
of course, because Xavier Woods and those guys, they're all really great singles wrestlers.
And I mean, obviously, just in general, I hate Adam Cole not being able to wrestle. Him not being able to be there with New Day coming over, because he is part of the club with Austin Creed, Claudio, and Tyler Breeze. Like, I hate that he's not. Somebody said though that they wonder. Oh, it may have actually been Sean Ross Sapp in the Q&A section of Fightful Select. Somebody asked about AEW games and then bringing back the channel because Adam Cole and Evil Uno had that show together, and he said he wouldn't be surprised if it gets brought back if Xavier comes over, and then maybe they have Adam and Austin and Claudio doing some stuff together on that channel, which would be great. I hope they can find a way to involve Adam Cole, and I hope that I haven't heard an update on him recently, but I hope he's doing well.
Me too. I hate that. Yeah, it's such a bummer.
It is.
I really.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's like Forbidden Door is when that first big injury really took him out, and we were at that show, and I remember the spot, and I remember him hitting that rail, and watching them take him off camera and everything, or they were helping him through and it's like, it just sticks with me so hard because God, Adam Cole's the best. He's like,
yes, I love that guy.
Forever in our hearts, Adam Cole.
Definitely.
Adam Cole, baby.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that too, Crash, that apparently nationally televised talent is incoming to AEW, but then there's no word on who that nationally televised people are.
I mean, it would make sense to debut with Motor City, and the Motor City, obviously, they're from here. Tony loves, the person that I asked, his answer was, Tony loves fan pops. And I can't argue with that logic.
He does love moments. That'll be a huge pop. I mean, Motor City would be, I think, a huge pop anywhere for AEW, because for the AEW fans, but obviously you can't get any bigger than Detroit.
Right.
That's why Mercedes debuted in Boston.
Yeah.
Like, there's
you got advantage.
Yes. And so and then New Day is free, I think, like 2 weeks later or a week later. So early August, obviously end of August is
all in, right?
All in. So you could have
perfect.
So you could either have them debut leading up to All In to be in the match, but at that point, I would just debut them at All In. Can you imagine the pop in Wembley Stadium?
Oh my God!
Especially for people who don't necessarily. Obviously, we're spoiled with wrestling, but in the UK, like that's. I mean, obviously WWE comes through there, but that would be huge for them too.
Yeah, but it's not
for your international fan base. Clearly, it's going to be huge here, but for your international fan base, like literally, they are an international tag team. Like it would make so much sense to just debut. I mean, sure, of course they could have their first match there, but to debut them there, to have them come out. Like,
oh my God, the Wembley fans would freak out.
If the plan is still Young Bucks versus Cope and Christian at All In, you have the dream match that everybody's been waiting for, and then you have New Day come out afterwards.
That'd be great. I like this.
Challenge the Young Bucks, who I assume are winning the titles at All In. And you have the dream match, they win the titles, then you have New Day come out and put the tag team division on notice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. But then, I mean, but it's also hard not to. if you have Motor City and New Day, it would be hard not to just do a 4-way match, to do a match that way. But I really want the dream match between the Bucks and Cope and Christian. So I would think that would be the better way to do it. Is let them have that match, then present New Day, get them the giant international pop and then go from there. I think that would be really cool. Hi, Michael. Thank you for joining us. Please read the ticker that Mel just made to pop me.
Had to do it. I love this thing. I love StreamYard. It lets me do all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, Crash makes a very good point that they may introduce New Day early depending on how Wembley tickets are doing. If they're still down, they may need that to bump, which you could also do not that Motor City is not a big draw. I just clearly New Day would be the bigger of the two, especially in an international market. But for those who know ball, Motor City would also be. But New Day,
and it says a lot. I mean, you make that's like the biggest show of the year fundamentally, and it's the OG show from when before they were even a thing. It's the first thing they did where Dave Meltzer was like, oh, he bet Cody Rhodes $5 that he couldn't pull it off, and it was like, well, now I got to go pay Cody Rhodes that $5. So that's their biggest show. So sort of their like flagship anchor. So I mean, it's Wembley already. You've got all these things. Probably Will's gonna Will and Kenny are gonna potentially end up in that situation, which would be huge. It says a lot to your UK audience, though. Like they just rolled out that it might be plus for them. That I think that's the right thing. The way that you're thinking, I like how you think. I love this booking. I hope that it's not just casting. And it says a lot. Like it makes sure that yes, we may only come here once a year, but we bring the heat, we bring the noise, we bring everything. We bring the
you the biggest matches, the biggest debuts. And Fernando says, should the debut be pre-announced or should it be a surprise? I think it would go in the way that CM Punk was. Everybody knew CM Punk was coming. It just was.
Yeah, but it didn't take anything away.
There was still that chance that maybe not. Like maybe he really doesn't want to come back. So I feel like they could. New Day, I think if they hold them off, I think it's going to be like everybody knows New Day is coming. We just don't know when and how. And I feel
another
like
worst kept secret in wrestling.
Right. Because the worst kept secret in wrestling was CM Punk coming to AEW. And then he had that gigantic.
Yeah, but the pop was.
It was insane. Like we all.
It didn't even matter.
Yeah, it was, and that was one thing that I really loved about that. It was such a collective wrestling thing that all of us were watching Rampage, and it was online. Everybody was popping together, and we were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is actually happening!" We were all doing it together. It was all like watching Wrestle Kingdom together, and so I think having New Day arrive in that way, knowing that sure New Day has not been announced, but we know they're coming. Like it's got, they've got to be again worst kept secret part 2. I think that would kind of be the way to go. Sure you could use them to sell tickets. However, you could also sell tickets on the basis that New Day is probably debuting here. Let me buy tickets, but that's what they did. I mean, that's what they did with CM Punk. People bought tickets on the idea that he was going to show up. They had no guarantee for sure. Like, I think we were all 98% sure it was happening, but there was still that small
it's still
chance
wrestling, and you still don't know until the person walks out the tunnel.
Right, exactly.
You never know until they walk out the tunnel. It's wrestling. We've seen it time and time again. Wrestling is wrestling.
Right. And so I think that you could sell tickets on the premise that, hey, they're probably coming.
Yeah.
You could do that too. And God,
yes.
For somebody who loves tag team wrestling,
right
that makes me so excited. And I'm already hyping myself up thinking about all it.
I know, right?
We haven't even gotten to Forbidden Door yet. And I
want to see Matt and Nick and Xavier Woods and Kofi doing singles matches with each other too.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Because I love obviously Young Bucks, love it. But even when they wrestle each other, it's fun.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Well, and Jermaine makes a point. You could make this. So he says that he would debut Motor City and New Day at All In to make it truly the biggest show of the year. I mean, that's what they did with Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole. And people forget because those two overshadowed Ruby Soho debuted on that show too, but everybody forgets because of those, which I mean, and so that was really because everybody was expecting, I think everybody was expecting Danielson, and it was Cole, and people still lost their mind, and then Danielson came. So you could do that here too.
Yeah.
You could have one team show up first, then have the second team show up, and then like they could really create a like, yeah, I would love that. If it weren't for the Detroit shows, I still think that's what they're going to do. But you could
That's guaranteed. That place is gonna, it's the same venue as last time, so it's the Masonic Theater. That's that awesome venue. Yeah. We will blow that place apart at Motor City.
God, I can't imagine what that energy was like at All In 2021 when that happened. Because watching on TV was insane. So yeah. I can't imagine being in the building. Can you imagine what Wembley would be like?
I don't know. No, because especially with UK fans and with the people that'll fly in from there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got like anybody that does watch like Premier League or Champions League or anything like that, you see how crazy those fans get just for their football team. Like this is it's a pay-per-view and it's a wrestling show, and wrestling fans know how to show up for pay-per-views and wrestling shows. And stuff. Like we know the rules. So, right. And we play by them. We know, okay, it's going on air, get loud. Like we know how this works. So, and yeah, they get a big show. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. Cause like on the one hand, like you can have Motor City get their own moment and not be overshadowed by the New Day. But then you could also have it remembered in the way that Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole are remembered, where they showed up at the same time, and then poor Ruby Soho always gets forgotten that she also debuted on that show. Yeah. But then you have the Detroit fans who are going to be expecting Motor City, and if they don't show up, you don't want to risk disappointing them either. So
that's a really great point. Because if they were to debut,
it is a good problem to have. I don't think you could go wrong really either way. Like other than you, of course, you don't want to disappoint the Detroit fans. But as far as like debuting them both at the same time would be really cool. But I think you don't want to piss off the Detroit fans because a lot of them are probably buying tickets expecting, a lot they wouldn't buy tickets anyway, but they're probably expecting Motor City is going to debut here, and then if you don't debut him there, that's not going to be great for Tony. Like, I don't think they'll have,
especially with
maybe not quite the meltdown that, not quite the hate that happened to him with the women a couple of weeks ago, but it's still not going to be very pretty.
Well, especially if he tries to promise, guarantee, or make some other gimmick. Yes, I'm going to bring a pay-per-view to your town. BS promise again. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I think I know what sign I'm gonna make. It's gonna be funny.
I'm sure I know what sign you're gonna make.
Give us a pay-per-view, coward. No, it's gonna be cleverer than that. I actually thought it out. I told Bob, I was like, I'm gonna make a thing like this, and he was like, you're
hilarious. This says, do you guys think he, as in Leo Rush, keeps mentioning is one of those teams, or is it someone in general? I think it is him. Like, I think he's playing the Gollum Smeagol thing. And so I think that he is Smeagol. And then when we see him wrestle, he is the Gollum version of himself. I think that's the he. I mean, maybe it could be. I didn't even think of that being that he could be someone else. I assumed he was going with the Gollum thing where it's he and Smeagol. And then because Nikki and I were talking about it when Leo wrestled, I was like, "Why is he wearing his crew trunks? Did his
a lot of people were asking that in our Discord
too? Did his trunks get left?" But then Nikki and I were talking about it, and I was like, "Wait a minute! Does Leo think that he's still in the crew? That he and Andretti are fine, and then the Blackheart version of him is the one who ended the relation, or Action Andretti cost Blackheart the ROH TV title. He is Black and Blackheart. He and Blackheart are the ones that have issues, but he's not Blackheart all of the time. So does Leo think that he's still in the crew, but then when Blackheart takes over to wrestle, like, is that is that kind of what he's doing here? Or did he just, I was like, it's just very interesting that he wore those, because at first I initially thought, oh, maybe his trunks got left and he just had to wear his crew.
Yeah, it was noted in our Discord.
But then as Nikki and I talked, Nikki was like, no, what if it's on purpose? And then we were talking about, well, what if he doesn't realize that, because it's one is Leo and one is Blackheart, and the Blackheart version is the one that's the Gollum-esque figure, where Leo is the Smeagol version of this character. And
it's kind of funny because people either love what he's doing or hate it. I love it. I think it's a lot of fun.
I love it so much.
Great. I'm so happy to see him happy and wrestling and doing something that's meaningful to him. This gimmick seems like his gimmick right now. It's awesome. It works for the kind of wrestler he always has been. I need to start watching ROH. I keep forgetting I have access to it.
Yeah, he's been wrestling there some too.
He just had
who was that? He just wrestled, because I keep thinking Mark Briscoe, but he just wrestled on ROH, and it was, I can't remember now who it was, but he's been wrestling on ROH some, but he wrestled AR Fox at Supercard, and Action Andretti cost Leo the title, Blackheart the title, and then he was like, I'm done with him, I don't want anything to do with him. And so then that's why I was like, well, maybe Blackheart knows that things are done, but maybe Leo does not know, which I really like. I don't know, and like we talked about this at the very beginning, like I don't know how far this character can go for Leo and how long he can do it, but while he's doing, like, I'm enjoying all of it. And I haven't seen if it's picked up on Twitter, but it picked up on Blue Sky last week, that clip of him where he's walking by with the umbrella and he says, "The rain." And so people have been on Blue Sky have been taking songs like, "Have you ever seen The Rain?" And so it's John Fogerty singing.
I love
and then they put the Leo clip in. So then somebody did it with Adele, "Set Fire to the Rain." And so it's Adele singing, and they popped that in. And then somebody did Missy Elliott. I Can't Stand the Rain. They did The Rain with Missy Elliott. But my favorite one, somebody did Rainbow Connection.
I sing that at karaoke.
It was the way they did it, because I reposted it on
because you say the Rainbow Connection in the song.
And it's flawless. The way
Rainbow Connection.
When the way they edited in him saying "The Rain" with Rainbow Connection was flawless. Like, that's been my favorite one.
I gotta go look for this. I'm sorry I missed all that.
I retweeted it to my own page. I will go to Blue Sky and under Power Bombshells and repost them there, because they were. Nikki and I were.
Sorry I was like, Nikki, please. I need this in my life.
Yeah, I told Nikki, I was like, please go to my timeline. Like, I need you to go look at this. And I was sending them to like another chat. I was like, I don't know if Leo was on Blue Sky, but I need someone to show him these videos, because they are so funny and they're like perfect. And
that's like when I close karaoke, that's usually what everyone wants me to sing is Rainbow Connection. Because
now you have this.
Got a special place in my heart, so that's amazing. That's perfect.
Michael, he has that. He doesn't have this It's Fine merch, but have you seen the one where it's so creepy, but it's so cool? So it's like Leo's face, and there's a hand kind of coming out of his mouth, and it says, "Give me your hand," because he always offers his hands, and they don't want to give it to him because he's this version. That shirt is really cool, but they should definitely do an It's Fine shirt, or a no. Oh my God. Nikki said somebody should do Reading Rainbow. They just have to take out the part where he says "The Rain."
The Reading
The Rain.
The Rain. Oh.
It's great. I don't know how far Leo can go with this gimmick, but I will appreciate it.
See, that's where the internet goes right.
Yes.
That's the good stuff. That's what you need to find and curate onto your thing.
Crash says Leo Blackheart Rush spewing up decadent primordial black oil gunk is all of us drinking coffee every morning in this messed up dystopian year of our Lord 2026. It's all fine. Everything is fine.
That's excellent. Well said.
I reposted it under Power Bombshells Instagram, and I think I mentioned it last week. This little girl interviewed him, while he was in character. It was so great. She did, like, she kept her composure. I mean, she's young, like 8 maybe, but she kept her composure. And I clearly, like, Leo's a dad, so he knew how to, like, approach her, but also do it in character. And I think she only asked like 3 or 4 questions, but she did so good. And so I reposted it under Power Bombshells Instagram, and so you can like go to our repost and see it. And I commented from the Power Bombshells account and just like congratulated her, and her mom responded and was like, "Thank you." And I was like, "She did so good." And so yeah, it was really good. She definitely she did not let, I mean, she kind of looked at him like, "Oh, this is weird," but she did not let him face her at all. She asked her questions, and I mean, maybe I don't know if they practiced beforehand or whatever, but I mean, clearly I was like, well, he's a dad, he has kids, so he knows how to, you know, how to approach them. And so it was just, but any of the interviews he's done, like with as the Blackheart character, have been so funny. Then he's
awesome.
Really great. Oh yes, I knew there was one more video. Justin was announcing the Rainmaker Okada, and they put it in there.
I cannot believe that I missed this.
I need this to be a thing. I hope more people make videos, because I was so entertained by them, and I was like, I need everybody to see. And I was like, I need somebody to show Leo, because I don't know. I don't think he's on Blue Sky, and I haven't seen it I haven't seen it come over to Twitter yet. And so hopefully, I hope they can.
I don't mind if it's on Blue Sky. I'm trying.
I don't either, but I hope that. Well, that's why I was like, if it comes to Twitter, I want people to know that trend started on Blue Sky.
Oh yeah, so that they stop being on this stupid letter app and come to a friendlier, more moderate. You know what I like about Blue Sky? It has that function like what Reddit uses, where you can add tabs to things that you are interested in.
Yes.
And so like the world news, for example, tab, it's moderated. It's taking from like all the national, because unfortunately the mainstream media in America is not excellent at telling a clear story of what's happening in the world. So, but because the internet exists, I am able to actually read national papers from other countries and places around the world who have American or English versions, so that I can get actual news on what's happening and what my tax dollars are being misused on. So but I love those tabs, because it's like I've got my New Japan tab, I've got my regular tab, I've got, you know what I mean? It's like I've got my Champions League tab, I've got my Premier League tab, so I can see what's going on there.
Right.
But and I loved that about Reddit, because I loved having the subreddits that you could pick and choose, and that were moderated, and you could just go in there and have a great time. And before they made it like Reddit, the draw for Reddit was the anonymous portion of it, the not personalized, the funny names, the silly things, and the fact that it was modded really well. And then they sold out to corporate, just like everybody else. And now it's like, put your Abby on here, and I'm like, I kind of moved away from. I'll use it occasionally, but I mean, most of what's on there is insane anyway. It's like, I want to tell a lot of my friends, I'm like, can you stay off the Squared Circle subreddit, please?
Yeah, I avoid Reddit at all costs. I never really got into it to begin with, but I avoid it at all costs. I don't.
Well, I was back, because again, like I was a Reddit user from early on, because I had a friend out west who turned me on to it and was like, have you seen this? And I was like, no. And when it first started, and before, unfortunately, Aaron Shorts took his life and all of those things, it was a really cool app for a long time. But much like everything else, somebody ends up buying it, somebody ends up commoditizing it. They start trading it on the stock market, even though it's not real. And now they're like, put your Abby on it. And I'm like, that literally is counterintuitive to what it was made for in the beginning.
Oh, interesting. I will go back to, hang on one second. I just saw, that's what I was just coming to say. That I just saw that Steve Macklin has requested his release from TNA, and it was granted. I just saw that in the chat. Also, a few days ago, Mila Grace asked for her release, and it was given. And Mike Gilbert pointed out that was like the 3rd woman who had left, and he is wondering if women do not like being in TNA. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the locker room, but if it has to do with booking, I can see that, because that Knockouts division is god awful, and I hate that for the women. For the women who are there, I hate that for them because that knockout division used to be
Awesome.
really great, and it's fallen off a lot. And they are trying. The women who are there are trying the best with what they're given. And the few times I've watched since they've been on AMC it's not been good.
That sucks because that used to be a place where you could go for good women's wrestling. Was TNA?
Yeah,
that's how
the
good
knockouts
the knockouts division.
Yeah, the knockouts
they were on a different level
good.
Because no one else was doing that with women when that first happened. So it was like you would go watch women actually wrestle on TNA. That sucks.
That would not surprise me that Macklin had issues with creative because they did
running that now.
So Tommy Dreamer and Delirious.
What?
Yeah. They've been doing it, but they've been doing it prior to AMC. They were doing it before they got their newer TV deal.
Right. I knew
they were the writers, and they are still the writers. And Delirious was booking ROH pre Tony Khan era, and he had some good stuff. He had some crappy stuff. But yeah, he and Tommy Dreamer are just, I don't know what they're doing over there. The few times I've watched this year the first episode I watched was the very first episode they had was not good. And then I've covered it twice, and one episode was better. One had at least the main event with Mike Santana was really good. Mike Santana is supposedly going to be a free agent, so he'll probably be on his way to WWE soon-ish. But yeah, Steve Macklin so they did the thing. So there was a few months ago, there were rumors that he had been he was being fired or released. Then I think he got re-signed, and then they did they do that feast or fired every year where you open the briefcase and you find out if you get a title match or if you're fired. Well, they did a storyline where Steve Macklin was fired, but they made it a storyline and he actually was not fired, and he came back and did all this stuff. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I've only watched TNA this year maybe 4 times. And I don't think Steve Macklin was on any of the episodes except I think maybe the first one. So that is, yeah. Yes, TNA is shooting themselves in the foot yet again. What an unfortunate Groundhog Day situation. Yes. And, and as we say all the time, we want TNA to be successful. Not everybody can go to WWE and AEW, and there's limited TV options for people in the US, and TNA needs to be successful. I want them to be successful. I want there to be a viable option for people, especially because they're really good. They've been really good at signing international talent like Leon Slater and bringing in, they had Kevin Knight, they had Speedball first. They had Motor City. They were really good at finding talent and getting them exposure on TV before, of course, they would leave and go separate ways. But that was still a good place for people to go to. And we still need that alternative. And I don't know how in the world that they got their TV deal and they're somehow worse than they were prior to the TV deal. Maybe AMC just doesn't care, but it's a mess, and I hate that for the town.
I see Mike Gilbert tweeting about it and talking about it on
Blue Sky. And Mike Gilbert is somebody
I listen to him. If I'm going to dip into anything about it, I usually will watch his clips that he puts out because he's a freaking worker.
Right.
But yeah, that sucks.
It does, and yeah, I hate that for the people there, because we need a viable option for people to go to and to be on TV and to get. And that's an issue that keeps coming up with WWE. They don't do house shows anymore. Yes, they are now supposedly, they are going to bring them back briefly and see how they do, but people aren't getting in the reps, and they're not getting in the reps on TV. But you could come to TNA and get those reps. And then Mike is somebody who, much like us when we complain about AEW, he complains about them because he wants them to be better.
Right.
That's the product he watches. He doesn't hate. He's not somebody who is a grifter who hates on them just to hate on them because he knows it's going to get views. When you get to a point where Mike Gilbert is fed up, even there's a guy that's on Twitter who is their super fan. And even he, when Mila was released, he was like, what are we doing? And I was like, when you've lost that guy, even if you haven't lost him completely, but when you've made him question what you're doing, there's something very badly wrong. I was surprised. I was like, because normally that guy,
holy crap, that internet personality is mad? That must be bad.
Right.
Because they are the biggest fanboy of yours ever.
Right. Exactly. TNA has had some really, I mean, they've had some really awful stuff over the years, but they've had some really good stuff, and it is
they
sad
have.
to see how far they have fallen.
There
And
was
to
a
see,
time
and I
when we were
know,
recording it.
I
and it
know
was not
Carlos
watched.
Silva is new to the wrestling business, and he probably deserves some grace. He's made some bad choices, like pulling talent and messing with their money. And he's made some other not great choices, but he is new. But also, you have Tommy Dreamer and Delirious, who should know better, and they're booking god awful stuff that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make anybody look good. Literally, I mean, and I know I'm biased, but literally for me, the best thing about TNA is Cedric Alexander being the X Division champion, and Mustafa is still there too, and he still wrestles, but like, and Mike Santana, I mean, for him, he's done well. And some people, and that was the thing, like some people have done really well there, and there are people who are making good money, but then there are a lot of your lower level talent who, if they're not on TV, if they're not at these TV tapings, they don't get paid, and that's not right. That is a problem. And then you have the shitty booking on top of it, and you're losing fans. They've done like, they keep doing like their lowest, they had like one of their lowest rated show like 2 weeks ago, I think. Wow. They barely, like, they're struggling to sell tickets for Slammiversary. They're having trouble selling even some of the house shows. Like, I thought, and then Mike and JD were talking about it. There is a house show like where the TV tapings are, and they had sold literally 200 tickets. That's it. Like,
wow.
Some of these things have been bad, and
that is like worse than an indie show.
Yeah. And you're a TV, and that's your TV tapings that you're going to be putting on TV, and you've got 200 fans showing up. How do you put that on TV with 200 fans? Hopefully they'll sell more, but that
stinks.
It's very unfortunate. Yes. Oh, God. I love Ultimate X. They are bringing back, that was how, so Maria, it's funny that you say that. TNA for Slammiversary had like a week and a half ago had announced 2 matches. Ultimate X was one of them. Then they announced a ladder match. Nobody knew who was, from what Mike Gilbert said, nobody knew who was even in the ladder match. They just announced the ladder match. We don't know what it's for. Those were their 2 matches selling tickets. I believe that they just added the Hardys versus because the Hardys have been feuding with the Righteous. I believe they just got added. And I think the System, the tag team champions, I think they got added, and they're supposed to be adding some other tag teams. But like, I don't know what is happening over there. TNA gonna fall behind NWA. I mean, NWA is on YouTube now, and
are they back on YouTube?
They did. It's weird because I know like they keep signing people like Lady Frost is with them. They've got a relationship, I think, with CMLL now, and I don't really know what's happening over there, but I know that they're on YouTube. But yeah, that's going to be, if NWA ends up surpassing TNA. I mean, good for MLW, because again, you need viable places for people to work.
Is MLW still on the TVs though?
No, they're on YouTube.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think their YouTube just relaunched this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the same
that was
as
one
being
of the
on
things
TV,
that I was gonna. Yeah. What was that?
It's not the same as being on real actual TV. It's
No.
something, and there's a lot of views, and obviously a lot of people have been really successful on YouTube.
And if you can I was saying, if they can like build their fan base up again, maybe it is something that will help them be viable for something else. Like maybe if 2B gets into wrestling, like I know that's been like a place that has been discussed.
That's a good point.
So, like,
places like that are picking up stuff like that.
No, but it's a viable place where people can get a paycheck. And still get exposure, even though YouTube is, a lot of these indie places have streaming networks. So, I mean, YouTube is still in that same category. And if people can get a paycheck and, get reps in and have matches and, do stuff and have a way for people to find them, I mean, that's at least a good thing.
Well, and YouTube TV is trying to build out its situation clearly from what they're rolling out. So they're trying to get content on YouTube that makes people watch YouTube like they would watch another streaming service, because they want you to pay for it. They've got that YouTube Plus or whatever, and they're adding content all the time where they've got like, you can watch your local news and you can do all that stuff on there, which is great. However, there's like all these other places that they keep adding to their channel lineup where
Right.
you can like watch this person or this influencer or
Right.
whatever. And so it gives them prime like locations on the pages and so forth.
Right.
Whatever your algorithm is aggregating
Yeah.
to you, the
Right.
top producers for that,
Right.
whatever,
Right.
you know.
USVA guy says TNA has a talent problem. Everyone is not motivated and just waiting for the time to get paid by AEW or WWE. Unless you're Mike Santana and Kaz, there are people who have left. Bear Bronson, they have left to go get paid and have done well in TNA. The inflated wages for the top bubble is going to burst very soon all over. That's why you get your bag when you can. If AEW and WWE are going to pay you and TNA and New Japan cannot pay you, then you have to get your bag, especially in this economy. And it is unfortunate that people are struggling, and it is a talent. I mean, you make a very valid point, but on the other hand, like, you gotta get your bag where you can, especially as a wrestler, where some careers are not as long as others. But I mean, that's a fair point. That, you know, not everybody, and that's true, but some of them probably are not motivated because they are waiting. They are using TNA as a stepping stone, but that's kind of what TNA has been the last few years outside of like certain talent. Like, look at Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
Look at Jordan Grace. Like, they both leveraged that to go to WWE. And I think some other people were hoping that was going to happen. And then, you know, you've got Leon Slater, who I think is probably the prime example of like probably the next person. AJ just wrote an article about AJ Styles thinking it's only a matter of time before he's in WWE, but I have heard from other people, and I think Fightful reported it, that Tony Khan is also interested in him, so it's not a guarantee that he's going to WWE. But then you also have some talent like your Mike. So but that's why you need a TNA. If they aren't happy in AEW and WWE, or if they're like Cedric Alexander and they get released by WWE, you need a viable option where people can get paid and be on TV, which is what Cedric Alexander did. That's what Mike Santana did. That's what Kaz did. Mike Santana and Kaz were not happy with what was happening with them in AEW, and they found a home in TNA and are getting paid well. Look at AJ Francis, I think, is probably one of the bigger success stories of somebody who got released from WWE. He's got from what he says, a good deal. He's making, you know, good money, which again, why we need TNA to be viable, because we need those options for people who cannot, or maybe there's not room to go to WWE or AEW, or they get released. They need somewhere to get a paycheck. So, but yeah. And I guess we'll go ahead and talk about that part really quick because it was on a topic for later. But yes, so Slammiversary is June 28th at I think 2 p.m. Forbidden Door is that night. Now NXT announced this week they too will be having Great American Bash. So TNA is getting screwed by WWE because WWE thinks they're going to counter book Forbidden Door with the show, but what they're actually doing is hurting TNA, who is their partner.
Well, right, because that's going to be the next close.
So they're going to, because the people who are going to watch Forbidden Door are going to watch Forbidden Door.
Correct.
The people who are going to watch WWE now will watch, like the people who would watch WWE are probably not going to watch Forbidden Door. They might have checked out Slammiversary and they still could. It's an afternoon show, but like, you're not doing what you think you're doing and now that it's an NXT show and people who are going to watch that, most people, I mean, sure, there are some people who are fans of all three and will try to watch all three of those shows, but in most cases, and Forbidden Door, again, not just AEW, this is ROH talent, this is CMLL talent, this is Stardom talent.
Right.
So that's several promotions being promoted on one big show, and now you also have TNA and NXT running the same day because WWE, I guess, thought they were going to counterbook that. And speaking of Mike Gilbert, somebody just sent me a tweet from him.
I love Mike tweets. They're the best.
Mike Gilbert says the middle management in TNA, not talking about Carlos, is causing people to want to leave. They should really overhaul things. That
there you go. You heard it from the man.
From Mike Gilbert.
That is the man who has stood by TNA in a way that I'm like, wow, Mike, you are a devoted person, and impressive. That's so sucks, because I know that the reason that he wants it to be good is the same reason you want it to be good and I want it to be good, because it gives wrestling talent options. Competition is good.
It is good.
We don't want one brand in North America.
No,
we just don't.
We don't want a monopoly in wrestling.
Yeah, because look how much. I mean, Dynamite was flagging there a little bit, and I was struggling, but also I stick with it because I love it. And they've gotten these shows have been really great since he went back to like the mid-sized venues and the really fun halls and stuff. It's been a lot more fun, in my opinion.
I was scanning through some of the comments, and a lot of them agree with Mike Gilbert.
I was just going to tell you to do
I saw it come across my phone, and I saw because it said Twitter, but I saw Mike Gilbert's name, and I was like, "Hold on."
This Nikki's in the comments like, "Check Mike Gilbert's things."
Mike Gilbert's ears and fingers are burning.
Cute. He must be. He's like, the Powerbombshells are talking about me.
But he's a big Steve Macklin guy, so
I bet.
If I remember correctly, he's a big fan of Steve Macklin. Clearly, they're both veterans, but I think also his talent in the ring, he's also a big fan of. And Steve and Deanna just did a charity show last night, and I believe it benefits because they're involved in a military foundation that I have just blanked on what Boots for something, but I believe they just did a charity show, and that I know was supposed to be on it, but she was in the UK for Pro Wrestling Eve, and somebody else was supposed to be on it, and they couldn't be. So the infantry, thank you, Tunnels to Towers, thank you, Lauren. I knew somebody would know. I just blanked on what it was, but the infantry, I believe, what's the infantry that they had? I think so. They did something. So they did some stuff last night. But so I know that Steve and Deanna have a podcast, and they talk to like veterans and things like that. I mean, I think they do some other stuff, but on that podcast, I know they talk to veterans, and they're both heavily into supporting veterans, because Steve was one, and Steve actually even did like a really cool thing, like maybe like a year or so ago, where he talked about like PTSD and like the night, like the dreams and stuff he was having, and it was super relatable because Nikki and our dad was in the military. Mm-hmm. He has PTSD, and some of the things that Steve was talking about, like I know that my dad has gone through, and so it was a really powerful thing for him to bring it into TNA and to bring it into a wrestling type of thing. And so, and I know that he's like very heavily into that. But yeah, I know that I'm pretty sure that Mike is a pretty big fan of his, but he is somebody. Steve was one of their better talents and one of their bigger names. So for him to ask for his release definitely says a lot about what is happening in TNA.
Yeah. I mean, that is a pretty big statement if one of your biggest talents wants to go. Literally asks to leave.
Right. Michael says Forbidden Door women. The Forbidden Door women's match alone is more than enough for me to watch Forbidden Door over the pay-per-views. Right. And we will get into the rest of that. We have spent a lot of time talking about other things. We weren't putting it off. We were just going by conversations that were happening. Of course, the Steve Macklin stuff came up. But we do need to talk about a little bit of stuff related to the shareholder stuff, and it's not necessarily bad, but we typically try to save the fun stuff for later. So we'll get into the Mercedes stuff and Kevin Knight too. But I want to shift really quick over to this topic. So if you've been following along, we've been talking about it. That tomorrow, the shareholders trial was supposed to start. Some of the shareholders believe that Vince McMahon meddled in making Endeavor by WWE when they were more viable, could have potentially been more viable option, because like Liberty Media was one of the people who were potentially interested, and I think I want to say KKR. I might be getting that wrong, but there were a few other options and maybe it would have turned out that they were not the best options, but they felt like Vince fast-tracked the sell to Endeavor to create TKO. So that's where so that's what the trial was for, it was a civil law. It was a lawsuit, as I believe it was civil, would not have resulted in charges or anything like that. Could have resulted in lots of money. And Brandon Thurston did an incredible overview of everything. It was like 2,800 words, and it's still worth reading just because of what's in there. But he had like what's at stake, what could happen, potentially like millions of dollars were involved here.
Yeah, I saw the percentages. It's crazy. I was reading his article. It was a very good article pointing out the ways that this. I've said this the whole time. This touches the market. Anything that touches the market is going to be under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Like they were making that deal. Whatever monies he was using or losing, he was losing on behalf of shareholders. You cannot F with shareholder value.
Right. And somebody said the other day, they were like, are you surprised that this is going to trial? And I said, no, because you don't mess with rich people's money. And they were like, yeah, I was thinking more of like the old way WWE used to run, that like it probably wouldn't have gotten this far. And then it turns out it is not getting that far. So Brandon did an incredible job explaining everything. And like this, and then in this shareholder trial, like they were expected to hear from like top people like Vince McMahon, Nick Khan, Ari Emanuel, I believe Mark Shapiro. They had depositions from like Stephanie McMahon, and I think like there were a few people they may have only consulted like their video depositions, but still like their words were going to be in there. It was not supposed to be a long trial. BJ had it, and then Brandon confirmed it as well. The trial was supposed to start Monday, go through Wednesday, an off day Thursday, and then the trial would conclude on Friday. But because this was a bench trial, it was a bench trial, not in front of a jury, the judge would make a decision later in the year. I believe, I remember correctly, Brandon, I can't remember if Brandon said September or if he just said it would be several months from now before a judge made a decision on the thing. So we wouldn't have gotten like immediate results, but a lot of information could have come out. Very harmful. And then we found out, as we talked about on the show last week, the judge was not happy about some of the things they were doing. And there were 5 rules that they were going to presume as fact because, and he laid it out, the judge laid it out like they changed there was obvious things where they were changing the settings on Signal after having meetings to let them auto delete in an hour. And so messages were being deleted instead of being preserved when they were already told you have to preserve this evidence, and they were letting it delete. So stuff wasn't there. So the judge was not happy with that. So they were going to have to, they could still prove their case, but they would have to prove like clearly that that's not what they were doing. Like they were not doing on Lingus.
You know what? I was saying this to Bob earlier. I got to interject real quick because this makes me feel better actually, the Langus thing, because literally a bunch of old weirdos on the interwebs went, we'll say it backwards. They'll never figure that one out. To the internet.
They literally said back to when Vince asked literally what in the blue hell is that? The response were, read it backwards.
I loved the portion of the program where he asked Nick Khan or Ari Emanuel, I can't remember which one it was specifically, but it was one of the two, how much they could cover his ass. And one of the answers was, as long as it's civil, it's fine. But if it's criminal, it's just criminal. Was the answer. Like, you're on your own, buddy, which here's hoping. But, I mean, we could see them, like, they could do the thing they're going to do. They could settle. They could do whatever they're going to do with this circumstance. We could see them throw Vince under the whole bus.
That would certainly be interesting. So Friday night, it was reported by, I believe her name is Jen K. So Friday night, she says the WWE UFC trial that had been scheduled to start Monday doesn't appear on the Chancery Court's calendar for next week. So then people have been trying to figure out, well, what happened? Why is it not off there? Is it off there because they're, are the defendants arguing, about what the motion? Are they trying to make a motion because of what the judge said about these 5 presumed rules? Did they settle? What has happened? So then late last night, while I was still on Collision coverage, somebody sent it to me. Brandon Thurston tweeted, the WWE merger trial has been canceled. Court administrator for the Delaware Court of Chancery, Tamara Burton, confirmed to Brandon last night. We have not confirmed whether a settlement has been agreed to or if it's being worked on. The trial was previously scheduled to start Monday. So that is still up in the air as far as what exactly happened to make it get pulled off the calendar. It, of course, sounds like a settlement is being worked on. We don't know the details. I'm sure we'll find out within the coming days. But I want to, and this was something I was going to, before the trial was canceled, this was something I was going to, bring up today because I thought we were going to be talking about it in a different way. Even though this is a shareholders lawsuit, it also involves Janel Grant.
Right.
The things that Vince McMahon allegedly did to her is what made him want to sell the company. It is what made him make the choices he made, where he potentially, it appears that he used TKO so that he could stay in power, that he forfeited potentially potentially forfeited better options to go with a way to make sure that he could stay in power.
Involved. Yep.
So all of this starts with so yes, this is a shareholder or was a shareholders lawsuit, but that it is a shareholders lawsuit because of what Vince McMahon allegedly did to Janel Grant. Had he not done the things that he had done, a sale may not have even happened, or it wouldn't have happened in the way, it would not have gone down in the way that it did. There are, I will go over it a little bit. So there have been some things made public. The anonymous emails, which is what started the investigation into what Vince McMahon was doing. Those have been released, which I will go over with you. And then Bloomberg Law also made 18 exhibits available to the public. Some of it is just a lot of legal stuff, like defining, this is what location means. This is what file, this is what this means, because you have to be so specific about
the beginning of a legal brief, for those of you who've never read one, is usually the glossary is at the back, but in law, the glossary is at the front. They tell you what everything is going to mean when you go on. So you get a key at the beginning of the lawsuit, at the beginning of the brief, that says, this is what this means, this is who we're referring to when we say this. And so
there's a lot of that in these exhibits, but I did find some interesting information. Again, those anonymous emails that triggered
this whole thing.
It triggered the whole thing, triggered Wall Street Journal's reporting, triggered the DOJ, triggered, like you said, the whole thing.
Triggered the market investigation, because if he was doing that stuff, this is another issue. I've said this all the time. If he was doing all that stuff to her with shareholder money, that's a huge problem. One of those things that you shared with me, they use the word fiduciary duty. I am very functionally aware of that. I have an insurance license. I love saying it jokingly, but in reality, that is a big deal when those words are being used. Those are very, very specific words that are used in very specific contexts for very specific reasons.
Right. So I didn't, because I had some family stuff yesterday afternoon, then I had collision coverage. So I did not get to the plaintiff stuff until last night. There's also some information from the defendant's side, which includes Nick Khan's deposition. That is available, I believe, through the Delaware court. So it's available. I have not had access to it. I have not had a chance to read it. But that information's out there publicly now. So that could have some really interesting. So even though the shareholders trial is no longer moving forward, there's potentially information that is going to come out to the public that could be really damning. It could. They're just. I mean, I don't want to say because I don't know for sure what's in it. I don't want to, I'm trying to be careful with what I say because again, I haven't had a chance to read them, so I don't know specifically what's in them. But Nick Khan's deposition is in there, which is where he had to say under oath, like, this is when I knew this. This is when we did this. This is how I found out about this. Like, that type of information is in there. And that information is now public. So some really interesting information could start coming out once people who have access to it can get a hold of it. But like I said, the emails are available. There's some other information that's available. I made some notes on what I think is worth discussing, just because I was just trying to pick stuff out. I think I got everything. So there were emails that were sent, which I'll go over in a minute. They were sent to various people. They were ignored originally. And then finally we get to a release where Jeff Speed is a former board member. Jeff Speed CC'd Alan Wexler and Steve Pamone, or Pamon, I think it's Pamone is how you pronounce his name, and Manjit Singh, all board members. And so Alan Wexler and Jeff Speed were board members who were removed by Vince McMahon when he returned in 2023 so that he could reinstall George Barrios and Michelle Wilson. Both of those people they have both been deposed for the shareholders trial. They both were supposed to testify this week, or at least I think their stuff was being used. So they're heavily in this. Those two, so Alan Wexler and Jeff Speed were CC'd on emails. Manjit Singh, he resigned from the board when Vince returned. He and another person both resigned immediely. They were like, Vince
I remember that.
Way back in, we're out. Manjit Singh was one of the people who he saw those emails, the anonymous ones, because he was CC'd from Jeff Speed. Hey, give me a call. Because Jeff Speed, he CC'd him, Alan, and I believe one other person to call him. So they were well aware of the emails. And then Steve Pamone, I was looking him up. He is a former board member. He is also a board member of, I believe it's Parkwood Entertainment, which is Beyonce's company, but he's with them now. But it's interesting because his LinkedIn says that he helped guide WWE through his $21 billion merger with UFC/Endeavor, one of the largest transactions in sports history. So he says that he was involved in helping guide that sale. That just
he's using that to advertise. So,
and yeah, he's got it on his LinkedIn. He received these anonymous emails, then still proceeded to help a sale go through. I just want to make that. I felt like that was important information that should be pointed out. So let me get to these.
This has kind of been the question all along, right? Is that did the people involved in this sale know what was going on and what Vince was doing when they were making these arrangements? Was this a result of what was going on? And so they decided, let's reorganize and maybe we can write this whole criminal activity off. Or,
right.
I mean, still, again, if he uses market money, he's in trouble.
Right.
I mean,
and they got the SEC fine.
Yeah.
There was that. They got the little slap on the wrist. And that was
it doesn't sound like that's over. I mean, I personally didn't necessarily believe that any of the names people that we're talking about, Paul Levesque, Vince McMahon, all these, I kind of never expected them to see a witness chair. You know what I'm saying? I never expected to hear from any of those people.
They got very close. And we do know, even though they are no longer going to trial, they were all deposed. That information is out.
And it'll have to come out because
right now, most of it is private, but some of it is now public, like the Nick Khan deposition is now public. Could other ones become public?
Well, you bet your bottom dollar that the people that are working this story, like Brandon Thurston, are already filing their FOIAs for that. Yeah.
So I'm sure it's only a matter of time. And then it takes time to go through them and digest them.
Right.
But I would feel like, yes, and again, I've mentioned it before, but Brandon Thurston has done really incredible job with this stuff. BJ Bethel has been doing some really incredible stuff with this. So shout out to both of them for their incredible hard work that they have done. But Brandon has been doing, like, he's getting information, like we talked about last week. he got that. He's got it now, or that voice memo, the one that says, like, our lawyers work for the DOJ, you should be fine, type of thing. That voice memo has to be released now because the judge sided with Brandon Thurston's request. Yep. There's more information that's still coming out. So while the trial is over, the information still could be coming. And it could come in waves. It could be something that comes. It could take a while because FOIAs generally take a while. Depends on if they're redacting things. Look at the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Oh my God.
So, like, you can see. So this could be, just because the trial is not happening does not mean things are necessarily over, because information can still come out. So I do want to, so I have the anonymous emails. Again, they were made public. So the first email is anonymous. It says, my friend worked at WWE. She is, and then it's redacted. And we live homeless for a while. We went to get cleaned up together, and she met Chief Chairman Vince McMahon not too long after that. Vince McMahon gave her a job and paid her $100,000 every year until he started, I'm going to just use the words that they use, until he started fucking her. Then he paid her $200,000 a year. He is 80 years old, and he took my friend's soul just because he could. Vince McMahon gave her like a toy to his friend John, who also works at WWE. John is 70. My friend, who was so scared, she quit after Vince McMahon and lawyer Jerry paid her millions of dollars to shut up. I'm going to the media as well. I don't want anything from this. I just want the world to know the truth about this pervert. So that's the first email that was sent out. Then there was another one that says, the board of directors for a major company like WWE does not care that the old founder and his old sidekick, Johnny Laurinaitis, took advantage of and then it's redacted, who only worked hard. She would be angry that I wrote this, but I want no money. I am sending this out to your stockholders tomorrow and to all lawyers my friend worked with. The lawyers know of the settlements, investigate, and you will see WWE paid her for her silence. Redacted is her name. Very good lady. Treated like an animal by Vince McMahon and Johnny Laurinaitis. That was sent. That one does have a date. That was sent April 11th of 2022 at 11:08 p.m. I don't know if that's Eastern or not, but that's in that email. Then there's another one from redacted to redacted. Lots of people CC'd were redacted. This was April 14th, so 3 days later. It says, Deadspin is surprised that the board of directors has not checked Vince McMahon's phone, which will show you all of his hurtful pictures back and forth to redacted. These include pictures of his privates to a 25-year-old employee and them in sex together, and with Johnny in sex acts with her. Gross old men abusing a 25-year-old. So then we get the email the same day, April 14th. Jeff Speed, who was a former board member, who was removed by Vince McMahon when he came back, along with Steve Pomone, who says on his LinkedIn page that he helped this sell. He's CC'd on this email. So is Alan Wexler, who was removed with Jeff Speed so that Vince McMahon could reinstall George and Michelle. Manjit Singh, who was the board member who resigned when Vince came back. They were all CC'd, and it says, FYI, please give me a call when you are free. And that email is with it. So these are, again, the emails that started it all. Those are now public, and that is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think
we know a lot more now, but those are the emails that started it. We don't know. They're anonymous. We don't know who sent them.
Well, I mean, the thing that I thought was interesting about this portion, at least, was that it came out, like, we all said, like, it was one email initially. Well, it turns out it's 3 emails that this person sent, whomever they are,
right,
who was looking out for or whatever, like, saying, hey, this is happening. You know it's happening. So they knew, no matter how you slice this timeline, they knew when they were making this sale that this was going on. No matter what you can't, that's evidence. That the chain of evidence right there in front of me says when they started talking about a sale, they knew exactly what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew he was using shareholder money, and they knew that whatever they knew.
Right.
And they still, I mean, look at how, and they might not be wrong, but look at how the audacity of these people to ignore these emails until it got that far.
Right.
Because it was going to screw up something or whatever. And now you've got, so here's a bigger issue. So if this all turns out to be true, that's collusion. That's also an antitrust violation. That also comes with a big, giant potential trial. And you could get, I mean, they could put you before Congress for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are just the emails. So here's some other information that when I read, again, the public plaintiffs exhibits that were released by Bloomberg Law that were made public there. So you can go look them up. They're out there.
I've got a tab open.
And anybody can go look this up because Bloomberg Law posted it. So I thought this was really interesting. So Brad Blum worked for WWE.
Yeah.
Was originally, when Janel Grant's first lawsuit came out, she was not identifying names. He was corporate officer number 2. Then when the amended lawsuit came out, he was, they had already but had already figured out who the 4 corporate officers were. Mm-hmm. But then when the amended lawsuit came out, Janel Grant confirmed the identities of those 4 corporate officers. So Brad Blum has been in the lawsuit since the beginning. He was in the very first one. So he was deposed for the shareholders trial. He says, I thought this was interesting. He said in 2022, the FBI came to his house to issue a subpoena and to take his phone. He says it was his personal phone and it was never returned. What's interesting about that, if I remember the dates correctly, of course, things run together. But he says his phone was taken in 2022. If I am not mistaken, Vince McMahon's phone was not taken until 2023. So Brad Blum's phone was taken before Vince McMahon's phone was taken. That seems important.
Yeah.
The timing seems very interesting. And again, because he was deposed end of last year at some point. I think they were doing depositions between like October and December. So I don't remember the exact date. So as of late 2025, he had not gotten that phone back from what he says in this deposition. It's very interesting. And it's very interesting that his phone was taken first. What is on his phone? Why was that taken? What is on his phone that his phone has not been returned to him, and that his phone, if the timeline is correct, was taken before Vince McMahon's phone?
Which is a lot about, again, chain of events of you understanding that what was going on behind the scenes and still continuing to essentially try and reorganize your company to get rid of this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what this sounds like. It's how it reads. It, from an outside perspective, like if I'm just looking at it with all the things in front of me, if I wasn't even like involved in understanding Janel's side of the story, this is literally antitrust extravaganza. This is like backroom deals that you're not supposed to do. You're colluding. There's a whole monopoly circumstance because of the combat sport situation where TKO has now become the only company doing all of that in America. I mean, there's so many little tiny things you can pull out of economic law where you can slap them with everything.
Yeah.
You did this with the market. You did this with shareholder money. You did that. You could have cost us a 40% decline in the shares that day. He has to pay that back.
Right.
Somehow, or has to make amends. That has to be, those people, when you shareholders on that level, they care about every freaking dime, every red cent of that dividend, of that money, of that portfolio. If you messed up their portfolio, if you messed up a bunch of people's portfolios, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't mean normal people like you and me who maybe have like, if it's someone with a 401k, that's where they stash all the shitty stocks. That's why I don't have that kind of thing.
Right.
They stash shitty stocks in your 401ks to make the market look better so that they can do the crap that they're doing at the level on TKO's level. Yeah. So for them, they're it's explicit. Like you can't F with each other's money. You can mess with the poor as all you want to. Take their money, do whatever you want. Put a billion trillion tranches from bad mortgages in their, we don't care about that. That doesn't happen with people on this level. These are people that hold. One of the names in there was J.P. Morgan. You do not F with the House of Morgan. That's legacy banking.
Right.
That's been around since America.
Uh-huh.
J.P. Morgan used to bail America out with his own money when America was sucking until they said we're not going to do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're named in there.
Yeah.
That's huge. When I saw Morgan in there, I about lost my. I was like, Morgan is in here. Holy crap! You don't mess with them. That's no.
Mm-hmm. And so Brad, another thing that I found was interesting, and because it was only like a page of his deposition was available, but they asked him, "Were you surprised about the subpoena? The content, what was in the subpoena?" He was not surprised.
Of course, he wasn't.
He said that multiple times. I wasn't surprised by the contents. I was surprised that the FBI used manpower and taxpayer money to show up at my house to serve my subpoena and to take my phone.
Well,
that's what he was surprised about. Not the contents. That seems important. You aren't surprised, but you have said before you didn't know anything about any sex trafficking. It couldn't have happened. But yet you're not surprised about what's in that subpoena? That seems... Hopefully the rest of that deposition will come out because, again, it was just one page. But they asked him several times in that one page, were you surprised? And they asked why he was not surprised. And he was like, oh, I just, I'm not surprised like something like this would come out. But he said it wasn't, but he was like, it's not true. But then they said, did you tell Vince McMahon about this, that you were subpoenaed? He said, yes, I called him, said I was subpoenaed. They took my phone. And Vince said, yeah, that happened to me too. But that's interesting. So Brad says that Vince told, so this was he claims in 2022 that he called Vince McMahon, said, hey, the FBI just showed up at my house, served me a subpoena and took my phone. And he says, Vince told me, yeah, that just happened to me too. But then I believe that Vince's phone, and again, we have to double check dates, but if Vince's phone wasn't taken until 2023, but you had your phone taken in 2022, then how would that have just happened to Vince if his phone wasn't taken? Unless he means they just came to my house to raid my house, which is probably because Vince's house was raided. But I believe that Vince's house was raided in July of 2023, I believe is when his house was raided and they took his phone. And Brad says his was 2022. So there's just some interesting... Maybe once we can see the entire deposition, maybe that gap is filled out. But that just seemed, I don't know, when I read that, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting that he's saying this. But if I remember correctly, Vince didn't have his phone taken until 2023. So why are you saying under oath?
That's crazy.
Like, just interesting. But yeah, I just thought, yeah, he was real mad the FBI showed up at his house, but was not surprised by the contents of what was in that subpoena. Very interesting.
How dare they show up at his house and execute their legal freaking authority over a situation like this?
Yeah.
Sheesh.
So then, but then as you're reading, there is like pages of shareholders requesting things. So page 35 was the shareholders requested all discovery materials concerning any investigation, including the March 2022 emails to members of the WWE board regarding the sexual misconduct allegations, the formation, composition, and dissolution of the special or demand committees. They were asking for, like, the shareholders for that trial were asking for all of these documents. And there's other emails where the plaintiff's lawyers are like, hey, you're not fulfilling your end of the deal. Like, you're sending us things, but you're still not sending these things. And so there's several emails where it was getting a little heated back and forth between the plaintiff's lawyers and the defendant's lawyers trying to get this information. And they were specifically, like I noticed, they were specifically asking for things related to hush money as well. They wanted documents related to hush money. They wanted documents related to sexual misconduct allegations, and one of those things, like, and it said, like, in sexual misconduct, like, they defined that can mean rape, that can mean, they define what sexual misconduct means, like back when we were talking about all of those things. So it's just, so the shareholders were asking for that information. for their trial. So that's another reason, had this gone to trial, some information could have come out about what was sent to them.
What they knew when they knew it.
Right. Which could still come out, depending on when the FOIAs are granted, if they're granted, what's in them. So this is information that could still come out. Then one of the exhibits from Exhibit 10, it says in 2022, shareholders wanted any communications between Vince and Redacted, who we assume is Janel, because of the timeline. But so shareholders wanted any communications between Vince and Janel, Vince or his representatives, and Janel and or her representatives, any communication between John Laurinaitis or his reps, between Janel and or her reps, and also any communication between Brad Blum and or his reps and Janel and her reps. So like they were asking for some very detailed information, it sounds like. Was it received? I don't know yet, because again, these are just the 18 exhibits that were released. But it sounds like the shareholders were definitely trying to make a point, and that's probably what they would have done this week. They would have made a point about what they believe Vince McMahon was doing when he sold this, and why he sold this, and what prompted this sale that's what they were trying to argue. Then Exhibit 15 was really interesting. It's an instant message from July 22nd, 2022. Mark Shapiro, who again is a TKO board member, said, and at the time, Endeavor did not exist. So he was already in the picture in 2022. And he sent over an instant message, and he said that Nick Khan and Stephanie McMahon will take over for 9 months, and Vince would come back with a new board, or he will take WWE private, or he will sell it / is coming to us. The race is on, the courtship is on. That is from Mark Shapiro, who is now a current board member of TKO back in 2022, saying that after Nick and Stephanie took over for 9 months, either Vince was coming back, he was taking the company private, or he was going to sell to them. They were actively going to court him, because about a month later, on August 8th, 2022, there were various messages that were sent. I believe they were text messages. Ari Emanuel, again, board member, told Vince they also represent Bill Burr, the comedian, sent 2 TikToks in case he needed a laugh, then invited him to a show in Boston, offered him backstage passes. So that's courting, that proof that they're courting him. This is one of our clients. Do you want to go see his show? Do you want to go backstage? Courting him, as Mark Shapiro says a month earlier. The courtship is on. Here is an example of that. Then later, in a later message from Ari to Vince says, "I will be your greatest partner."
Wow.
That is in a public document related to the shareholders.
There's no way they couldn't have known about this stuff. There's just no way. It doesn't make, they can't be asking for all of that information and then pretending they don't know something's going on.
Right.
That's ridiculous. That just, on its surface, that's just absurd.
Yeah.
So, we didn't know anything about it, but we're requesting all these documentations, and we're requesting all these things, and we're going to make a plan for Stephanie and Nick. We're going to do all these things, and now we're going to start giving them gifts because we're going to do a back room. This is collusion. This is collusion. This is the definition of it. It's people behind the scenes making plans to sell a company. You can't do that. You have to go out. You have to say, "Hi, I'm interested in buying this company. It's a big company. You need to get their books. They need to get your books. The banks need to see your books, both books, so they can see if you're liquid enough to even make that sale, because there's going to be a bank involved, because nobody can make a transaction like that. They can't just hand each other a check. There's real estate lawyers and antitrust lawyers and market lawyers, and that's an army of lawyers on both sides to do those deals. Look at how Paramount's going right now. The whole thing with everybody that's trying to eat Paramount and wants it, and just Jared Kushner and the whole thing, everybody. That's not some, we watch this stuff play out every day.
Yeah.
They're going to act like, but not us. Well, no, we were just asking for that stuff for no reason.
Right.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. And again, these are just 18 exhibits that were made public. There's tons of other information that's out there that could be eventually released. But just from this, like, look at the picture that paints.
That's so awful.
Yeah.
It's like it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. No matter how this plays out, I genuinely hope that Janel is. You can obviously never take back what's happened to her. That's the truth.
Yeah, of course.
She needs to be taken care of for life by this company. I mean, Philip Morris has to pay for smoking ads campaigns to this very day. Now they've had to switch to the vapes because that's what I want for Janel.
Right.
She always has a house and always has health care and always has mental health and always has everything she needs, including, if necessary, a freaking bodyguard so she can take walks and hikes. I don't care what it looks like. But to me, in my world, the only answer to this, the only way she can be indemnified, as they would say in my business, made whole, would be to make sure that she is taken care of forever. She never wants for anything anymore. She never needs she doesn't need to beg for a doctor. She doesn't need anything, because that's the only way that this is there's justice done in this situation.
Yeah. And
I believe Janel. I've read that nightmare freaking court document, just as you have, and all the horrible crap that was in there. And it shouldn't be that surprising when you consider that this group of people probably visited Pedo Island. So
they certainly have. Yeah.
Well, they have friends in common.
That's what I was going to say. They definitely have a relationship there, and it's there's a lot of things.
Terrible. Terrible.
I think that's the thing. We've talked about this before. I don't know what justice looks like for Janel Grant, like what she sees as justice. Whatever that is for her, I hope that she gets that.
Me too.
I hope that she can get her life back. I hope that she can, because she said publicly when she has been in public twice this year, which is huge for her.
Yeah.
She said she mentioned earlier this year, she'd been last year, I only went outside 10 times. That's all she felt comfortable doing. Jeez. I can't imagine what that is like.
That's
to
awful.
Feel like you cannot leave your home. Yeah. I can't imagine any of this. And you and I have talked about this before. To have the courage to even, first of all, admit to yourself, this is what happened to me. Then to say, I'm going to tell someone what happened to me. Then I have to say this to lawyers.
Yeah.
And answer questions. And according to her, and she has posted them on her Instagram, the FBI identified her as a potential victim, sent her multiple letters telling her this. She has had to relive what happened to her to the FBI, who was investigating. And to have to do this over and over again. And to even have to file a lawsuit, knowing that, first of all, these people,
all this stuff is going on.
Like, they know that these people are powerful people. I mean, we've talked about it from back when if you go back to her original lawsuit, she says Vince basically threatened her. Even in the deposition, she says he basically threatened her just very early on, within weeks maybe. He told her his lawyer was very powerful. He had him on speed dial and can make people go away. That is a threat. That happened within weeks of her meeting him. Mm-hmm. So this is from what she says. If we're taking what she says as truth, this is something that happened from the very beginning and continued to unravel and just keep going and going. So I can't. And then for her to speak publicly twice this year. And I think another thing that's really important that she said publicly, she is part of TKO's origin story. And it is true. And that trial is proof of that, or would have been proof of that. But even though the trial did not happen.
But they know that. They clearly know that. Otherwise, they would not have made the move they made.
Right. So, so she is, whether they like it or not, she is part of TKO's origin story. Without her, that deal probably would not have happened, or at least not the way that it went down, or the time that it did. And so that's why we keep coming back to that. Yes, the shareholders lawsuit was separate, but it would not have happened had the things that Vince McMahon allegedly did to Janel Grant, that she says happened to her, TKO would not exist.
Yeah.
At least not in that way. So for better or worse, TKO will forever be tied to Janel Grant. And I think that's something that's really important for people to remember in all of this, that these things, this is what happened to Janel Grant, according to her, is also in the very beginning stages of what TKO is. No matter how long TKO lasts, no matter how powerful they get, Janel Grant is at the very start.
So
she will
shitty.
always be. Janel Grant will also always be tied to TKO based on what she says happened to her, and then the choices that Vince McMahon and WWE and other people made to make TKO happen. She's, so that is, I think that's really important to remember, and I don't want to be forgotten in all of this. And I see that someone who said in the comments that Brandon Thurston did post an update. So Brandon Thurston says half an hour ago, he tweeted Tamara Burton, who we mentioned earlier. She was the court administrator for the Delaware Court of Chancery, which is where the shareholders lawsuit was taking place. The parties have reached an agreement in principle. The quote is, "At the parties' request, the trial is canceled. The parties have advised the court that they will present the settlement for approval in due course." And so that is where things currently stand with the shareholders.
So that'll have to go before a judge. The judge will have to say, yes, this is enough. This is enough to cover what you guys have done. Right. I mean, judges can say no. And if you look at the lawsuit with the UFC fighters,
yeah,
when with the where they were getting their money back because they weren't getting paid properly or whatnot, that case, you saw that they put the settlement through there, and the judge said, no, this is not enough money for you to cover what you've done to these fighters. I know a lot of fighters were angry because they were like, I'm not getting my check. And it's like, yes, you're not getting your check because they're not treating you right. Because you're entitled to a bigger check.
Yeah.
A bigger, you're just a same. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Rob, I
am too.
Yeah, it's a real pisser. And when you think about this, it's literally that. So to get away with what they did to her, they've made a whole new company.
That's essentially what happened. Like, if you believe what Janel Grant says, and you believe what happened to her, that's essentially what it comes down to. Which, again, what the trial was trying to get at was this what you were doing? Is this why this happened? That's the whole point of that lawsuit. Which,
if our real Congress was really functioning the way it's supposed to, the legislative branch, this would be a case that would become. This is so shady. This should be before Congress. I'm serious. John D. Rockefeller got called down by Congress back in the 18-somethings for way less shady shit than this. And he did shady shit. But I mean, they called people to Congress up until, the last 25, 30 years here, since the madness has really taken off. You got called down by our government if you did this crap.
Mm-hmm.
We have interstate commerce laws because of things like this.
Right.
Literally. Yeah. Like my whole industry is overseen because of people doing shady crap just like that.
Right.
And Congress called those people down, and John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie and all those other people, Jay Gould, they all had to come testify in front of Congress like 3 or 4 different times in their lives about antitrust, about this exact thing.
Yeah.
Like this is so stupid.
Since we're on the topic of Endeavor and UFC, Endeavor is obviously WWE and UFC, they're inseparable. They are two of the same. Especially when you have so many people in the in WWE who are in the White House. We pointed out,
right? That's the orbit of the White House is the problem.
I thought this was interesting. I saw this earlier today, that Scott McFarlane, who is a chief Washington correspondent for Midas Touch, says, and I saw a few other places tweeted as well, a Virginia political organizer and military vet filed a federal lawsuit seeking a court order to halt the UFC fight at the White House, which is part of the UFC Freedom 250 that's supposed to be happening June 13th and 14th, which is next weekend. He says, and so one of the quotes that came from this was from the filing is, "This plan is deeply corrupt. The event is billed as UFC Freedom 250." And then in the parentheses, as the name suggests, is being organized by the UFC, whose chief executive, Dana White, is a close friend and ally of the president. The president is giving White and his company what none have enjoyed before: unfettered access to the White House and Lincoln Memorial to stage a private for-profit sports event with all the promotional and branding opportunities that accompany such access.
You heard that Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem pulled out of that Freedom 250 thing.
He said, so here's some more in this thread. In the federal suit seeking a halt to the White House UFC fight, he says the UFC is not being coy about the event's pecuniary nature. One executive recently called it the greatest earned marketing tool of all time. He is far from the only one salivating at the business upside. The suit also says the ostensible occasion for the spectacle is semi-quincentennial. Dana White says that the aim is to celebrate the 250th birthday of America, although June 14th, 2026 will also be Trump's 80th birthday. White has steadfastly maintained that that's just a coincidence. Federal law tightly restricts private use of the national capital's most sacred monumental spaces, which are national parklands. Under the NPS's usual permitting regime, no special events of any sort, including any sporting events, may be held on the South Lawn. The lawsuit also argues that defendants' decision authorizing the structures currently being erected to host UFC Freedom 250 is likewise unlawful. In particular, the UFC is erecting a 92-foot tall, 600-ton steel structure it calls the Claw, immediately adjacent to the executive residence, and is destroying much of the South Lawn in the process. The lawsuit also says that Dana White has presented the event as a celebration he just repeated this, where he about the 250th birthday of America, but White has, however, admitted that the event was Trump's idea. And then it says also from the lawsuit, Trump posted a video on TikTok in which he suggested that the Claw may never be taken down. Trump tried to compare the Claw to Paris's Eiffel Tower, which in his words was supposed to be taken down immediately after the World's Fair. And then they say, you know what, we sort of like it, which was a direct quote from Trump. The lawsuit also argues the UFC's broadcast partner, Paramount Skydance, which is run by two other Trump allies, Larry and David Ellison, has decided that no American will be able to take in the celebration of America without first paying $8.99 plus tax for a Paramount Plus streaming subscription.
No.
So this is a lawsuit.
I lived in DC. I went to school in DC I was there for 3 years. Everything in DC is under the National Park Service. It's the Department of Interior runs everything. Monticello, the Washington Monument, the Capitol building, the White House, like all this stuff he's doing is grossly illegal because you're not supposed to, it's right in the Constitution. You're not allowed to profit off the office of the presidency. It's literally right in the beginning part. It's like,
and they've been profiting nonstop from various things. But
forget that. All the stuff that they're doing, they're not allowed to do it. They're supposed to bring stuff like that before Congress. You're not allowed to do any of this stuff. A judge just ruled he has to take his name off the Kennedy Center because he's not allowed to do that in the first place, because that has to go through Congress. That has to go through the Office of Budgetary Management in Congress. They hold the purse strings. They're the ones that say, yep, you can have money for this. Yep, you can have money for that. He's just using our tax dollars any way he wants to, doing whatever he wants to, with all of these things, making up all this crap. It's a load. It's a giant load. The whole thing should be illegal. There should be literal, Congress has been on vacation way too often.
Yeah.
And they only came back to argue that $175,000 a year isn't enough for them to live on.
Right.
Well, get the F out of here with all of this stuff. I am so fed up with this bananas BS. This needs to stop. Yeah. I kind of think we're there, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so again, this all ties in together because Endeavor, I mean, TKO owns both UFC and WWE. They have merged. So when one thing affects, they both play off of each other. They both
literally this
whole they're both in the White House. They're both doing things they should not be doing. And then does that play into?
And it's all because they didn't want anyone to find out that they were hurting and trafficking a woman.
Right.
This is all happening right now.
Behind this Freedom 250 event. Again, Janelle Grant says, I am part of TKO's origin story.
Now that you've said it too, it's very, you're right.
I mean, she's the one who's
spark.
She is. She's the spark to all of this. No matter what happens, no matter if Vince McMahon or them never see any type of consequences besides the SEC fine or whatever. It's there. And if this information, if these FOIs get approved and this information comes out, it will be public record no matter what. And you cannot remove it from public record. Once it's out there, it's out there. Even if they, like the Epstein files, try to get rid of them, the files are still there. That's, in the age of the internet, that stuff is forever.
Especially on the interwebs.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of people on the interwebs that are scouring those things and reading everything that isn't redacted. All these people hang out together. So it's not that far-fetched that Vince did exactly what Janelle said, because he hangs out with people who do that stuff. He hung out on the island where they did that stuff for sport. I mean, I haven't even barely, because I can't take that much, but I have read some of the Epstein files that are available. And no.
It's that awful. Also, they're doing
it reeks of what Janelle is accusing Vince of.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is. They're all, and we've talked about it before. This case was being tried in the SDNY, who that's where Diddy's trial was. That's where Weinstein's trial was. They have a history. They deal with this type of stuff.
Well, and what they tried to open up, so E. Jean Carroll won that suit against.
Yes. And now
the DOJ opens up an investigation into her? What the hell is that?
Yep. And
that is a dictatorship.
That's the only person who has ever successfully sued Donald Trump for sexual assault. And she won. And now
they're trying to mess with
bullshit stuff to get her to try to get.
And now they're doing fascism
because a woman was successful over him, and he can't stand that.
And now they're doing fascism on her.
Yeah.
Literally.
They are.
That's what that is. When you send people from the state to mess with people on your behalf in a so-called democracy of representative governance, that is no. We have amendments for that. You're not allowed to do that sort of thing. This is dumb.
It is.
I'm tired of the people in charge of all of this. I hope this doesn't go away. I hope that their plan to try and make this go away blows up in their face.
Me too.
That's what, if I had a wish cast as hard as I could, and these people are stupid enough that it ends up blowing up in their faces.
Yep.
Because they're not thinking like humans.
No.
Look at how Brad Bloom reacted to the FBI deigning to raid his house.
Right.
How dare they?
How dare they?
If they raided my house.
Not what's in the subpoena. The fact that they came to my home.
How dare they come to my home? How dare the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, it's in their name, comes to a person's home on a criminal accusation the way that they are freaking there. That's what they're there for. That's their literal job. I used to hang out by the Hoover Building because it was something I was in my wheelhouse to maybe be.
Yeah.
It's no. This is crazy. It's wild when you say it and you think about it more, is that Janelle Grant's place in this situation, like it lit a fire.
It did.
And especially now that you look around at what's happening with the pedophiles and them not being released, even though the law says that they need to be released in full to Congress and all the rest of us. And that's not happening at this moment.
Right.
This is the same behavior.
Mm-hmm. It is. It very much is.
He was doing Little St. James in his office in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And then they made a new company to get rid of it. And and as of right now, they're going to get away with it. Because even if Janel settles, unfortunately, the reality of that is going to come with an NDA.
Yeah.
If she settles, she will never be able to talk about this ever again, because that will be in that contract. That's how that contract will be written.
I mean, I don't know how that's going to work, because Janel is actively working with a group in Connecticut to get NDAs in the workplace to end, because she is worried
in a
about
settlement. It's different. Because
I know, and I don't know, and who knows? I think we're along. I mean, I will say this: they have never offered. I don't believe the settlement is interesting that came with this trial, because they have not offered a settlement to her before. They're just trying to get it to go to. Their argument has always been, let's go to arbitration. Let's go to arbitration. That's what we're still arguing. So, yeah, I don't know. I think we're a long ways from getting any type of resolution, unless, I mean, maybe they do take a settlement. Maybe that ends it. But otherwise, I don't think we're done. I think we're a long ways from being done with that. And
no, I mean, hopefully this stuff comes out and is able to be used as evidence in Janel's trial.
Right. And then there's still the Ring Boys lawsuit, which is currently in discovery phase. So there is also that. And they are trying, the last update was Vince and Linda were trying to say that the Maryland Child Act of 2023 was unconstitutional. But the state of Maryland already said last year they ruled it was constitutional, which is how they're in the discovery phase. So that's what they're grasping at now. And so it's in the discovery phase. So that is also still, as of right now, active and in play. On top of the current, the lawsuit this civil lawsuit from Janel Grant is also in play. So today, I mean, maybe this trial could be seen as a blow, because these people are not having to get on the stand under oath, but they have done depositions under oath, and that information could potentially come out. So while maybe this is a setback, it's not necessarily the blow that WWE is probably going to tout it as. They're probably going to be very excited about it, but of course they are. They're always. Vince McMahon tried to do that stuff when he retired. He tried to, or when he played when he had to pay the SEC fine, he tried to blame it on an accounting error.
Yeah, that's what he called Janelle. He called her an accounting error.
Which is, so I'm sure they're going to have some kind of bullshit statement about how this trial was this or that, whatever.
We always knew that we were okay and that we were always doing it right, and they should never have done this to us.
They'll probably come out with some stupid statement that is gonna, you're gonna roll your eyes at. And I think and they're gonna tout it as some giant victory, when really all it is a setback. And depending on what comes of it, if the FOIA does release some of these files, then this information will become public knowledge. And that, I think, I think they're afraid of that happening. They should be scared of that happening, because if that information from those depositions come out, and
it can be used as evidence in Janel's case,
and even if it's not used in evidence, it could support everything that she has said.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
and that information will be out there. So, so I just prepare for some victory lap that they're going to try to.
Yeah, they're going to sell this.
They're going to sell this
Vince
lap.
Free. Vince didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, when all it is a setback, and there's still the Janel Grant civil lawsuit. That's still in play. The Ring Boys lawsuit still in play. Information could become public. I think we're a long way from over, but they're gonna just ignore them, because they're definitely gonna hype this up as some big thing that it's not.
So I was thinking today, and I didn't like it, but I said it. I said, these guys are dumb enough Are we going to see Vince McMahon on a television screen in 2026?
I don't think so.
Okay.
They have hinted at it, and people have thought so, but I don't think they're dumb enough to do. They are dumb, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Would it surprise me? No. I think Brock is probably as far as it was going to go. I think they've definitely hinted at it, and I think that's certainly gotten people saying, but I never say never, because it's wrestling and it's WWE and it's Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
But I think under the current structure of TKO, no. Curry has less in 2027. I don't even know if it's going to be then either. But nothing would surprise me at this point. When you got ballsy enough to put Brock Lesnar back on TV.
Yeah, right. They don't care.
No, but nothing would surprise me. I don't. Yeah, they have been, but they have been teasing it because it gets people talking. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go through with it. And yeah, that's been a thing too. That will they eventually? And they could put him in the Hall of Fame. That's certainly in their right. But I think as long as these potential lawsuits could be happening, I don't know that they would. I mean, it's possible. Like I said, anything is possible, and never say never.
They probably want to keep the shine off this guy right now, considering what's going on and the fact that those depositions could very, very easily become public knowledge. Because that is going to be, I can't imagine that Brandon Thurston and his guys that have been working this story so hard and so well haven't already started the process.
I mean, yeah, and he's already got approval for.
They already know how to fill out. They probably pros at filling out FOIA forms now. So
yeah, and a judge has already approved that the voice memo has to be released, and calling some of the other documents. And again, the Nick Khan deposition is out there. You have to go through the Delaware court to get it, but it's available, so that's public. So other things could become public, and so we'll see.
It's weird that it's in Delaware.
That's where there was a reason that I can't remember. There was a reason why.
I know the reason.
The shareholders, because of some of their stuff. There's also because it was like a pension fund that was behind this.
That's where almost all the super PACs set up, because Delaware has lenient laws on how to start your .orgs, which are super PACs. They make them into nonprofits.
Right.
Like, if you're going to get a nonprofit in Delaware, like, you're all obviously up to shady shit. That's literally like how people look at that. So their court system is probably more friendly to, because their laws are much more friendly. Like, most of the super PACs that you see today in America are based out of Delaware because of how easy the rich people can go in there. It's hard to get a nonprofit as a human. Like, if you are starting something that's great for your community, you have to write pages and pages and pages and pages of information saying how you benefit it, so you can get, because that means that you are tax-free. You don't pay tax on anything if you're a nonprofit. That's the thing about it.
Yeah.
And that's what they filter their money through, so that they're giving donations through their super PACs. Most of them are based in Delaware because of Delaware's laws being lenient. So I'm sure it's that it's friendlier and to this kind of litigation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope there's more info. I hope that them thinking that none of the information coming out means that lots of information is going to come out.
Right.
Because people figure things out eventually. And I don't think Brandon Thurston's like, okay, this is over, I'm throwing in the towel.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think he's too far in. I think he's too
BJ
far
as well. I see BJ Bethel dropping off the planet on this one anytime soon.
Yes, definitely. I don't think so either. Curry has said he's rather watch a Seahawks game than watch.
There you go. There you go.
And so I believe we've covered. I think that's we've said pretty much all we have to say on that. It is ongoing. We will definitely, obviously, the more we find out, the more we'll share with you and take on.
Keep Janel's story out there because
always
she deserves justice.
Yes, always. So we will now transition into more positive things. So we touched on it a little bit when we were talking about Collision, but Mercedes Moné was our wild card this week. I will say, like, I am Thank you. You are welcome. I will definitely. It's not a fun topic, but we're not letting it go.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
I will preface this by saying I love Mercedes Moné, and I am always happy to see her. However, I still stand by letting that wild card spot go to someone to elevate them, and then let Mercedes do whatever it is that she was going to do. Yes, it potentially was that her and Willow were going to have a face-off, and so they expedited her coming back. I don't know what the plan was, obviously, for her. We still don't know. But she's back, which is great news. Always great to see Mercedes Moné. The crowd obviously was super happy to see her there. She looked great. They got some time because, Mercedes Moné is not gonna be having 7-minute matches unless something is seriously wrong.
Right.
And so she is back. She won. And now we know that because Persephone and Hazuki had a really great match in the main event last night. Hazuki won, and Hazuki will be facing Mercedes. And they're actually doing it this week. We're getting 2 women's matches on Dynamite. We're getting 2 tournament matches.
Is Tony okay?
So
we need to do a wellness check on Tony.
I'm telling you, those tweets got to him. Whether it's for 2 weeks and then we go back to normal, he was bullied into submission, at least temporarily.
You know what? I'm gonna believe that. I'm gonna believe that he's on Twitter enough and socials, and he just can't stand it. And people are like, "Fine, here's your stupid women, man."
Yes. And so Sky Blue will be wrestling Sari. Sari is cleared.
Oh, right on.
That's kind of why they waited to do this match last, I think, was trying to make sure Sari was cleared. So Sky Blue and Sari is happening on Wednesday, and then they announced last night that after the show, they announced that, wait, is it for 6/17? I thought it was announced for this week. I thought the Dynamite that I saw, or the ad that I saw, was this week's Dynamite. Did I get so excited about 2 women's matches that I didn't read the date? Which is certainly... Damn it, Tony. I got excited. I mean, I played myself for believing that. I swear I thought that I read that as, man, I bet that's probably what I did. I got excited because I saw it and thought and didn't read the date, and I played myself.
At least we'll still get 2 women's matches on that.
So we've got Sari versus Sky Blue for sure. Oh, it sure does, right there in the very print right at the bottom. Damn it. Well, I guess it's good I know now, Lauren.
She's like, I have to look again.
June 17th.
Okay.
Is the semifinal match for them. God dang it. Tony, you made me play myself because I didn't stop. I saw the graphic and didn't look at the date. I saw it said live Wednesday at 8/7 Central. I did not see above that on the graphic. It said Houston, Texas. And this tweet right here, if I had used my reading skills, says after Hazuki's win, Mercedes attacked her and Persephone, but Hazuki took Moné down with a huge dive. The fight for a spot in the finals is Wednesday, June 17th, Sam. 10 days, not this Wednesday. God dang it. Just kidding, everybody.
Almost had it.
False alarm.
Almost had it. I was worried about Tony. It was just a graphic error.
It was a reading.
Just an oversight, really.
It was a reading comprehension error from Sam.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to be human once in a while.
Who saw a graphic and I saw AEW Dynamite, saw Hazuki and Mercedes, and thought that it was this Wednesday because I did not read at the bottom where it says Houston, Texas, and then did not read the tweet accompanying it that it said June 17th. So false alarm, everybody. Well, maybe just for me, because maybe the rest of you use your reading skills. Unlike me, who did not. We got excited for nothing. I mean, I'm still excited for the match. I just now have to wait longer for it. Korea said, wait, hold on. It was a good week for you, Sam. Multiple women's matches on Dynamite, no FTR. This was your dream week. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good week. And I thought I was getting the next one. But no. Yeah, Jermaine. Yes, Jermaine's telling me too. I know. Thank you. No, thank you for real though. Thank you for setting me straight because I really would have. I would have been
Then
mad.
she would have cried on Wednesday.
I would have been mad on Wednesday. Been like,
now you can work it out ahead of time. You won't, like,
and then my brain.
Yeah, that's all right. You'll be less disappointed this way.
Yes, this is true. We probably will get 2 women's matches on Dynamite for the next 2 weeks because they are starting. They did say these Survival of the Fittest qualifying matches will be starting. And then we had a little vignette of women who have declared for it. It was Sheeta, Stat, Mina, Harley, Queen Aminata, who I was super excited for, and Zeta Still have all said they want a shot at the TBS title. Then they said qualifying matches start Wednesday. We don't know who is in that match yet, but that is starting soon, and then we're crowning a winner on July 1st. Unless anything has changed or I have mixed up dates and I am wrong. I believe that the TBS champion.
Wednesday,
then we also have Crash said he was very disappointed that they brought Mercedes back for the wild card spot, especially after all we discussed the idea here. But I will say this: TK has my interest peaked with how the Mercedes Moné angle played out to end Collision. Yes, I like that too. I was a little. I was surprised because women were main eventing Collision, and they didn't announce it. They even throughout the show just said tonight, and so I don't know if they were making sure Mercedes' flight was going to land, like maybe they were waiting for her to get there or something like that. I don't know.
Awful.
But then they did the angle with Mercedes where she comes out after. So they got a 12.5 minute They got a 12.5 minute match. Mercedes comes out. She attacks Persephone. Then she attacks and she locks in the statement maker, which Persephone was the one who defeated Mercedes for the CMLL championship. So that's why she went after her. Then Hazuki, obviously that's who's fighting. Hazuki ran her off. Hazuki was trying to comfort Persephone, and then she gets attacked by Mercedes. And then Hazuki, like they had to be pulled apart. Then Hazuki jumps on them and does like a tope over the top to take everybody out. And like she had to be held back. So it was really fun way to end Collision for the second week in a row, because last week's Collision ended with a brawl as well, with Shane Taylor Promotions and Death Riders. And thank God we are getting more Shane Taylor Promotions on TV. Yeah, we are getting Shane Taylor Challenge because we are in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is the hometown of one John Moxley. So that's why he was in Youngstown last night. They were in his state, and they were very pro Moxley crowd last night for him. Then we got Shane Taylor, and we got Shane Taylor taking out Young Wheeler, or as John Moxley said, "You murked Young Wheeler." What's the phrase that he said? And so Trish Adora is dancing over his body. Wow, Shane challenges John Moxley. And so we're getting a Continental title match on Wednesday between Shane Taylor and John Moxley. And I'm so excited because you are new here. I love Shane Taylor and Shane Taylor Promotions, and I'm so glad that we are getting TV time. But back to the women. We also had on Wednesday, we finally got the promo from Tekla in the ring. Tekla, who it made me laugh because Nikki was talking about it, but Doc Mueller over at Bleacher Report pointed it out that Tekla says I was banned from Japan, so it sounds like she was banned from the entire country. Because she said I'm banned in Japan. I'm banned from Japan, so it sounds like she is banned from not just Stardom, but the entire country of Japan.
Isn't Jay White banned from
Japan? That's what Nikki and I said. Except for Jay, I said that's what happened to Jay White. Except for he broke the ban to be there for Tana's retirement.
I mean, you had to,
which is understandable.
You got to take that risk. I mean,
he is also banned.
Banned in Japan. They need to start making shirts that say "Banned in Japan."
They should. And then Tekla grabs a ladder. Or no, I'm sorry, not Tekla. Sisters of Sin grab her a ladder. She ascends it. She climbs it. Continues to talk shit. declares death on Stardom and spits a giant loogie that you could see on the Stardom logo. I thought it was fantastic.
I did too. I loved it. She's amazing. I
phenomenal promo.
really love her. She
Me
is
too.
a lot of fun. She's so different. I love her promos. I love her too. I just love it. She's great. I'm having a ton of fun with her.
Yeah, I loved that, and then I think that I thought that was a really cool thing. And somebody mentioned it here that she says Julia Hart. Tekla did suggest Julia Hart being in the title, that she was coming back for the TBS Championship. I don't know. She could be in the tournament. It could also just be Tekla hyping up her group, because Sky is in the ON, and back at the Double or Nothing media scrum, they asked her who she wanted to win the tournament, and she said Sky, because she's like, I want to see Sky step up and see if Sky can step up to face me for the title. And so maybe Julia is in the tournament, and it makes sense because she is a former TBS championship, or I can't tell if she's going to be in it, or if Tekla is just hyping her up because Sky is in the tournament and they don't want Julia to feel left out. But it would make perfect sense. But so far, we do know there's going to be qualifying matches. And so it would make sense for Julia to be one of the people that those 6 women from last night, like I could see her wrestling like Zeta still.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that. But Julia makes sense. She's a former TBS champion. She should be in the tournament. I don't think she's winning it back, and now I really, really want Queen Aminata. Like, I've already wanted her to win the TBS championship before. Now that she's in this tournament, like, I really want her to win, because I love her. She's fantastic. I did see that Persephone cut an promo last night, but I didn't end up watching it. Jermaine says Persephone said she's going after the Triangle of Madness to get revenge. I could see that. I wonder if this is going to be I wonder what the Forbidden Door match is going to end up being. I guess you don't want Tekla being in like a trios match, probably, but it'll probably happen before. But that's interesting. I wonder if that's going to work into something for Forbidden Door. Maria says Tekla's going to say Forbidden Door all by herself. Fernando, I have not seen this. Do people really think that Willow's injury is a work? Because I have not seen this. This is brand new information to me. And
it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, but I don't know.
I don't think Willow is taking herself out of whatever they had planned for her, and potentially had planned for her in Mercedes. Maybe they're thinking because of the Kyle O'Reilly, John Moxley stuff for the C2, but that is the first I have heard of that. And I
haven't heard that, but I don't know that I can't say that isn't out there.
Yeah. Mox he wears a cross almost every week now. I've noticed that he wears his cross a lot. I've noticed that he wears that all the time. I'm sure it did work the Alabama crowd, but he frequently wears a cross in the ring. Michael says for close up. Oh, the one with Tekla, I haven't had a chance. I've seen clips, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. But this is brand new information to me. I have not seen anybody.
I haven't seen that either. That's interesting.
I don't think so. I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility, because I am still convinced that Kyle O'Reilly's injury was a work to get him out of the C2. I'm convinced of it. So it is possible. It would be really fucking dumb to do after the tournament has already started, to have that, and then you have her vacate the title. Again, who knows? If it's a work,
it is wrestling. It could be.
It is wrestling. Everything is a work. But that is really brand new information to me, and that kind of blows my mind, because I have not seen anybody say that. That's crazy. Now watch. I'm going to see it constantly now.
Now you will. Now you'll be aware of it
everywhere. Michael says they are really pushing Sky Blue more as a single star. She's facing Emerson Jane in Pro Wrestling Eve soon, but that's good for her. I think, because she was doing indies prior to AEW, but the more places that these women any of them can wrestle, all wrestlers, not just the women, they should be. And I'm glad to see that she is getting that opportunity. I think Anna Jay definitely benefited from going to Japan, but then being off TV for months has taken all of that away from her, because she was struggling last night. Ty looked a lot better than she did. And then, of course, we see the level that Megan Bayne and Lena Cross are on. And she works very hard, but it is unfortunate that she seems to be struggling so much. And I think another trip to Japan or maybe even to the UK would be beneficial. And I think having her off TV for a month, whether that was her choice or not, has hurt her in the ring. But they got 10.5 minutes, so that was good. But yeah, he said, no way, I've never noticed that with Mox. Yeah, I've noticed it quite often. I don't know if this is after he started going to AA and started going to rehab, if that's when that started. But I have noticed that
it's entirely possible
for a while
that
he is someone who wears a cross necklace more often. I've noticed it because sometimes he leaves it on and then sometimes he takes it off before. I think he has wrestled in it a couple times, but he generally takes it. Well, he generally takes it off, I think, before he wrestles, but he often has it when he wrestles. So yes, Mercedes Moné is back. Very exciting. It's always more exciting when she's around. I don't know what the plans are. I hope we still get the crash out that we all thought we were getting. I know things have changed with Willow's injury or not. Whether it's real or not, things have changed clearly. And so she is back. I hope that means the women's division between the fans really letting Tony have it and Mercedes being back, fingers crossed. And now we have a tournament to declare to challenge to crown a new TBS champion. Hopefully these are all good things for us in the women's division, and hopefully, I mean, it doesn't look like it as of June 7th, 2026. So hopefully we get a women's main event and a pay-per-view in the year of our Lord 2026, in the year 7 of this company. We got time. Mercedes is back. Tony is not. Was Mercedes versus Tony the plan to do a main event? Probably. I don't know what that means. I'm sure it's Mercedes. You can find. There are good enough women. There's Willow. There's Stat. There's Aminata. There's Athena. There's plenty of women. To Sheeta. Sheeta would also be. I kind of would like to see Sheeta because Sheeta is Stat too. She's a day one. Willow's a day one. But Sheeta has been around. She's a 3-time champion. She would be nice to see her get a main event spot in a pay-per-view. She's definitely somebody who I think the crowd loves and would be into a main event from her. So, I mean, the way the scene looks now, I don't know that we're getting one of those, but there's time, maybe. So,
fingers crossed,
we'll get it. Yeah, I don't think she's winning it either. Crash says he doesn't think Mercedes is winning unless the start of England with Tekla is going to lead to a one-off with Hazuki or 3 at Forbidden Door or Redemption, which I could see both of those happening. And then I still can't figure things quite yet. I don't know if Mercedes is going to be the one to defeat Tekla at Forbidden Door. I would not turn Mercedes. She works better as a heel. I think there's a lot of unresolved heel things for her to do. So I would have Mercedes, which is obviously how you would get there with Owen probably. But I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. Jermaine says, I think we're getting Mercedes versus 3 in the Owens Hart finals at Forbidden Door. That would make a ton of sense because it's Forbidden Door. It's the crossover. That's a gigantic match. Oh, also, speaking of gigantic matches, Athena now knows her opponent for the Global Wars, which is the show that's it's next Thursday. She is wrestling Shuri. She is getting her rematch. Shuri beat her before, and she is pissed about it. And I think she said she was going to rip all her limbs off. Also, I mentioned it before, so they did on ROH, it's on Twitter, and I think it's on their YouTube. Caprice interviewed her. Part 1 was really great. Part 2, the last question he asks her is, why ROH? Why is she still there? She had a really great answer. She was talking about how she felt like she earned her spot in ROH. And yes, AEW is still a goal, but ROH is her show. She earned everything that she has gotten in ROH. And she gave a little bit more of an in-depth answer. But I liked hearing it from Athena's perspective of why she thinks she should be in ROH. And I thought because that obviously has been an argument. I mean, Athena should be everywhere all the time. You're not gonna. we love her here, but I appreciated her response to that, and hopefully that will help. I think they had to wait on Sari because when they announced her for the tournament, she was injured, and they were hoping she was going to be cleared. So, but that's unfortunate that you can't go now. That is, I hate that you don't get to see her. That is very unfortunate. Crashes Mercedes has to crash. That's what I'm saying. She's been bumbling about her therapist during a match with Windsor. They need to play this out, not just bulldoze by this one. Yeah, and she kept saying when she was beating them last night, she I just read what Nikki said. But before I read what Nikki said, Mercedes, when she was attacking Persephone, she was like, I think it was when she was attacking Persephone, not Hazuki. She kept saying, "You know who I am, you know who I am," which I thought was, that seemed important. But Nikki said she misread Sari as Swerve, and I was like, hell yeah, Mercedes, F Swerve up. And now I would like to see that happen. Sorry, Swerve. Now that it is out in the universe.
I mean, it'd be a fun match.
There's a main. I mean, it should be 2 women main eventing, but you could also main event.
That would be wild. I'd be into that. That'd be hilarious.
But yeah, I'm glad she's back. I'm interested to see where things go with the Owen, how we get to whoever Tekla is facing, both at Forbidden Door. We do now have Redemption and All In. I believe Tekla holds the title till All In. I don't think she's dropping it before then. And then who do you crown as TBS champion? They've so far, the women we've seen, of course, there's going to be more women for their opponents. They all have reason to want to win the TBS championship. And I really want it to be Queen Aminata. That is, without knowing who else is in the tournament, Queen Aminata is my pick to win. And then we'll see the matches and we'll see if that changes. But Queen Aminata is it. And then they're going to put Athena in the tournament, and then I'm going to want Athena to win and Athena to hold both belts. And then the other big story this week in AEW, besides Mercedes, is that Kevin Knight
broke our hearts.
Now a member of the Don Callis family, which at first I was like, I was not thrilled, just because Don Callis has 98,000 members, and right. What is Kevin Knight doing there? But because originally I was like, why didn't you just put in with the Hurt Syndicate? Because Hurt Syndicate, when they came back in their promo before their first match, MVP said, we are looking to add another member. And then I wrote an article because I watched a clip of Shelton Benjamin, and they said, if Hurt Syndicate were to add a new member, who would you want? Would you want somebody like Kevin Knight? And first he was like, yes, absolutely yes, Kevin Knight's great. He's like, if it were up to me, if somebody asked me, hey, who do you want the Hurt Syndicate? He's like, number 1 is Cedric Alexander. If it's not Cedric, then Kevin Knight is my number 2, which makes sense. Then I was thinking about it afterward, a little while later. The Hurt Syndicate, I guess, aren't really heels right now because they were on Team Jericho in the Stadium Stampede. So if they're not full-on baby faces, they are tweeners, and Swerve is not. I mean, not Swerve, because I was thinking Swerve is the other person that Kevin Knight I could see with. Kevin Knight is not. Kevin Knight's full-on heel now. He needs to be in a fully heel group, which Swerve, what I was going to say was Swerve is obviously the one who planted the seed, told him, if you want to be a killer, you got to act like one.
Right.
I thought maybe they'd do something with Swerve and Kevin Knight would also make sense. But after thinking about it and reading some people's thoughts about it, Don Callis is obsessed with the TNT title. He's obsessed with gold in general. He wants all the gold in his faction, especially the TNT title. Is he, and one of the things that I thought about, is he getting the TNT title back in the Don Callis family because he thinks that he can get it back on Kyle Fletcher and then they can just kick Kevin Knight out? Is this a means to an end? Do they really, because Don Callis doesn't care about anybody, really. I mean, he doesn't care about, Kyle is his number 1. Now, especially now that Takeshita is gone. Kyle's his number 1 guy, that he loves him. He will do anything for him. So is Kevin Knight here I think it's whatever this is, I think is temporary. I think Kevin is using them because he can get he still wants MJF's title. He even said it. He was like, I should be Kevin Two Belts. That's what he's been saying for weeks. I should be Kevin Two Belts. I should be Kevin Two Belts. And he straight up said, MJF, I'm coming for you. Like, that's still his goal. So I think he thinks Don Callis can offer him protection and give him the opportunity to face MJF for that title and potentially win it. And so I think Don is using him and was like, sure, come on over here. We're here. We'll help you heal it up. We'll help you, so look at what I did for Kyle Fletcher. Look at what I did for Takeshita. Look at what I did for these two. Now they're two of the biggest stars in the company, and I helped facilitate that. Let me do that for you too. But really, it's let me get this belt back for Kyle Fletcher is what I think is there. What are your thoughts on him being in the Don Callis family? Do you think it's a long-term thing, or do you think this is just temporary, or what are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think you're kind of onto something as far as like Don he wants that TNT title back. That would be a great way to get some shine on Kevin, get him that TNT title, have that work. I know that when anyone enters the Don Callis family, usually it's because he's getting them to a place where, cheaty or not, they're going to get a belt. I do think that the storyline with Takeshita and Okada has it's winding down a little, so they kind of need to go a different direction. And like you said, they could very well or make him fight Kyle for it, and then Kyle wins it back, or try, keep trying to mess around with it or whatever. But I mean, like, I saw this coming. I saw heel Kevin Knight coming. It makes sense for him to be with the Don Callis family. I think he'll be great. I think he'll do an awesome job with it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like the clearest path to a world championship match is not going to be by yourself. And he kind of the way that they split it is so he's now becoming a killer. And so he's going to go work with the biggest jerks he can find.
Right. Because that's kind of what I thought.
Kevin's probably thinking, if in storyline, Kevin probably thinks he can work Don as much as Don can work him because of the benefits.
I think they both are playing each other, and they think the other one doesn't realize it.
Right.
I think
they both think they're smarter than each other.
Initially, I was annoyed. I was like, why is Kevin Knight with them? This doesn't need... And I've seen this thought a lot. I saw several people thinking that it was a trash idea and that it's lazy booking. But I don't... I think there's a reason for this. And I can see, looking at it, I can see that initial reaction is, this is lazy. Why are we doing this? But, so Crash says Kevin Knight joining DCF seems like an afterthought. Going into this bout with Speedball, it sucked a bit out of the air. Going into it for me, it was so great match, but that was overcooked. I do think that they got to the Speedball match a little too soon. I do think they're going to run it back. I think Speedball is going to get a win over him at some point, whether it's for the title or not. But I do think that, I think that that's the thing. I think Kevin Knight is I'm a heel now. Who can help me advance my career?
Yeah, who's the worst group in the pack?
Because Swerve is doing his own thing. He's trying to get back into he too is trying to get back into the world title shot. So picture. So I don't think Kevin Knight wants to compete with Swerve in that, where they're both trying to get back to the world title picture. And Swerve is on his own right now. I don't think Swerve needs anybody. So then who else is going to help me reach my goal? And who has had success getting people to their goals? Because look at Andrade. Andrade has done really well with the Don Callis family. He is, while he's not a champion in AEW, he is the New Japan Global Champion. Which, he kind of had that in place already before the Don Callis family, but he has brought more gold to the Don Callis family, even though they didn't recognize Takeshita being a TV champion and having gold. That didn't matter to them because it was a New Japan belt. But I think that Kevin Knight Don Callis is always looking for the next hot thing, the next young thing. He wants in on everybody that he thinks if it had been Speedball Mike Bailey that had turned heel, he would have tried to recruit Speedball.
Tried to capitalize on that too.
He wants the next young thing. And Kevin Knight has that TNT title. He wants Kyle Fletcher to have it back. I think that's where they're going with both of this. I think that they both think they're going to outsmart the other. when they're probably just playing themselves. But I think that's what it is. I think they both think that they're smart, because Kevin's not an idiot. He knows what Don Callis is about. He knows what he does, but he knows he's successful. He knows that they get things done. And I think, and he could not win the tag titles with Kevin, and with Speedball, and he claims Speedball's holding him back. They went that whole route there. And so while maybe on the surface it is lazy booking, and then maybe it's wrong, maybe the next few weeks we're like, this is just not working. But I think that is the intention of why they did it. Will it stay? I don't know. Michael says it's curious that Don Callis has been focusing on his guys on the TNT title and not the international title. Or the TNT title and the international title, not the world title. I think that is by design, because they can't put any of these guys in that picture right now, because we have to get to MJF and
Kenny
and Will Ospreay, because Will Ospreay. I'm sorry, if it's not MJF and Ospreay, it'll be Kenny Omega and Ospreay.
Right.
So I think there's a reason for it. I mean, but you still have Forbidden Door. You also
have they're saving Will and Kenny for later.
So you could have redemption if MJF still has the title at Redemption. You could have Kevin face him there if the plan is for MJF to go into All In still as champion and not Omega. So I think that's kind of where it's up in the air. And so I think that's by design that they're not going for the world title, because I think the world title is too crowded. It's too soon for Kyle. Also, the G1 is coming up. Tony has said that at least a couple of them, I mean, for me, Kyle Fletcher wanted to be in it. He is back. He could, but I think that would be a lot on his body for somebody who just came back from that surgery. He could, that's not to say that he couldn't do it. I want Mark Davis in the G1 so bad. Like, I already wanted him in it, and then this match with Will Ospreay happened, and I was like, please put him in the damn G1. Like, what are we doing? Put him in the G1. That match, and yes, there was some overbooking to it that was a little too much. It was fun, just a little overbooking. The match itself, especially the closing minutes where they're both kicking out of each other's finishers, but not in a, ooh, I kicked out of your finisher, but like in a, we're so desperate to win this match. Like, I love that match. And I think Dave Meltzer was very generous, giving it 5 3/4 stars. He ranked that match higher than Takeshita versus Okada, which is crazy to me. And that is not to say that Will Ospreay and Mark Davis did not have a phenomenal match. But 575 is a little crazy. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good match. I don't know.
It was very good. I would like, even 4 1/4 stars would make sense for me. And I'm not a person who does star ratings.
Right.
But 575, when you just had Okada versus Takeshita, who did not get that, little crazy. Lauren says, I wish they had waited to have Kevin Knight join the DCF, but Speedball can win it back at Redemption, which is in Canada. Very good point. And also, they are teasing Jake Doyle and Speedball, which I love, because they were Speed something in DPW, and they were tag team champions, and they're phenomenal together. So I want to see them against each other. So I'm at least happy with that. And it seems like they're not forgetting Speedball. Maybe it's not in the best way with this split, and I hope he doesn't get that they don't get pushed to the wayside. But I'm hoping. I mean, there's enough members of Don Callis family that Speedball could wrestle every single one of them. But I really just want that Speed something match.
And never duplicate.
Yeah.
Since it's like 950,000 people.
Yeah. Yes. And they've added even new members, because Volador Jr. is in it now, and Kimonito and CMLL is also in Don Callis family. So
it's a big family. It's a lot of
drama. I never thought of the Takeshita betrayal part, like Kevin Knight coming across as more of a total dumbass now. Lauren says that Anna Jay has regressed. She needs to hit the Indies, or at the very least train with Mercedes. She extended an open invite, and it seemed to do wonders for Harley. I am with you, Lauren. She needs to do something, and she appears to, she appears to try very hard. but for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem
clicking.
to connect. And she did seem to improve going to Japan, but I think being off TV hurt her a lot. And I think she needs to do something to get that back. Let's see. Michael says, obviously Andrade, Fletcher, and Kevin are interested in the world title. I wonder if Don's deal with MJF is to keep his guys away while he's the champ, and will this splinter the DCF? That is an excellent point, Michael, because Don does clearly have something going on with MJF, and that makes a lot of sense on why he's focusing on why his guys are focusing on TNT and international,
everything
not
but
a world champion. That makes a ton of sense. I don't know how you save it, but I think that match should be at Grand Slam in Mexico, but that show's not till August. So how do you keep that going between those two?
Yeah,
I don't love when they do AEW versus AEW matches on Forbidden Door. I know they can get around it because Andrade is the New Japan champion as of right now. He could lose the title at Dominion. But as of right now, he's technically a New Japan champion. So technically they could get away with it. But I hate when they do that. I don't like AEW versus AEW matches on Forbidden Door. I don't like when they do that. But I was thinking too, I was like, this is the perfect match for Grand Slam. Especially because JF came out like, he's such an asshole. He came out dressed like a matador.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I laughed so hard when I
It's
realized, because it comes out the matador hat, he has the red cape, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, this is how you do heel things without being bottle of the bear. This is how you do these things. I'm glad you figured it out.
This is much better.
So I just they could do it at Forbidden Door. Yeah, because that's the only thing. How do you make them wait till August to do that match? Because I think unless I guess they could do a match now and then run it back in Mexico, they could do that. That might be the only way to do it. Fernando says that his job, wrestling fans always joke that when someone turns heel or signs with AEW, they joke that they're going to join the Don Callis family. I mean, it does seem like they do. Yeah, that would be great. Laurent says he wishes that TK would send some women to be part of the 5-star GP one year. They should. Would benefit so many people.
Would help.
Maria says she has zero interest in MJF and Mark Briscoe. I really enjoyed Mark Briscoe's promo explaining why.
It was good.
Because I was at first when they were doing that, I was like, we already did this. Why are we doing this again? But then Mark explained, I lost my brother. I took out all my rage on you. I found this family, felt joy again with a conglomeration. These men are like my brothers now. I'm so happy. You were gone filming a movie, and I didn't have to worry about you. Now you're back, and the rage that I felt when my brother died is back. And so I feel like that. I like that. Like it's a real life thing. I mean, it's a triggering. There are things that can trigger your grief at any time because grief is non-linear. And so I kind of like that part of it. Do I necessarily want to see it again? No, not really. But I have more interest now, and I think that was really smart. And God, Mark Briscoe can cut a promo.
I know, that was an amazing promo this week.
He's so good at that.
He's great.
But now MJF has hyperextended his knee. He was pulled from the Beyond Wrestling show because
he did hurt himself.
He hyperextended it, but not in the tomb. They said it was not in the. It was in the match with Roosh. It was not in the tombstone. It was a different move. They said there's no heat on Roosh. It's just a freak accident. Nobody's mad at anybody. But MJF is expected to be on TV, but he's not going to be wrestling. As of this point, he should be good for Forbidden Door. So now when he tweeted and he said, I'm not giving Mark Briscoe this. I'm not giving him a match. He's not getting a title shot. So now I'm wondering if they're going to have to hold that off because of the hyperextension and then do something else. Oh, did he? Good. And that's, again, not to take away anything from Will.
And, I would usually say, yeah, right, except that Dave makes so many typos in the newsletter all the time that that's totally plausible. He leaves off at punctuation. He spells words wrong. Like his spell checker doesn't understand the context of there, and there. So it's like you want to go on the newsletter sometime, put the little asterisks and be like THERE. It's like so.
I did put Davis and Ospreay on my match of the year contender list.
Yeah, it's a good match. That was really good. I love watching those guys because you know that they're like brothers in real life, and they were all in United Kingdom together. And yeah, he's
I wonder
crazy.
if Tony would
when he
consider
calls
doing
himself Big Hebrew, it pops me every single time.
And then Mark Briscoe pointed that out, and then shows him the tattoo he has. Good stuff. Yes, a bull rider would have been funny. That's probably next. That's probably next on his list.
He'll never stop. I like the props and stuff more than the talking. I like him coming out in some like stupid appropriated gear like you did much better than like calling someone fat. It's just not. It's way better.
It's way better. He's gotten much better about that. Yes. Yeah. The hyperextended knee.
That's funny because everybody in our Discord picked up on it and they were like, I think he started. And then I forgot to go look at because I got so busy.
Yeah, it came out. Yeah, because he was supposed to have a match at Beyond Wrestling. They announced they had to pull him. And then it came out that it's hyperextended. It was an accident. It was a freak thing. He should be fine. He's supposed to be on TV. They think, as of now, he'll be cleared for Forbidden Door and whatever is planned for that. So I'm assuming the Mark Briscoe match is on hold. Unless he's cleared between now and then. And we do have a few weeks, so maybe. Fernando says, how long can Tony justify not having Bobby Lashley in the main event picture? The main event picture is too crowded for Bobby Lashley, I think. And I think it depends if, which again, a good problem to have, not great for Bobby, but I think that's part of it is because, and we've talked about it before, Tony in the beginning has always booked, like when AEW first started, he knew who his first 4 champions were going to be. He tends to still book that way, unless there's like an injury that forces him to pivot. For the most part, he sticks to his plan, which is how he got a Darby Allin month-long title reign, because he stuck to his plan. And so if his plan is, which is what I think is, Will Ospreay winning it All In, is it Kenny? That's been the thing. Is the match Kenny versus Ospreay? How do you get the title off MJF and onto Kenny in a 2-month period? You can do it. Or why didn't you do it at Revolution and then not belt Darby? You could have done it then. That would have solved your problem. Kenny Omega beats him at Revolution, and then Kenny Omega holds the title all the way until All In. But they're like, no, we got to get this Darby title shot in here somehow, because this is probably his only time, because we have Will Ospreay. Have Kenny Omega before or after. Kyle Fletcher is going to be that. I'm convinced he's going to be a world champion within the next 18 months or so. Maybe it's 18 to 24. You've got Swerve. You've got such a stacked title picture. You've got a temporary, like Hangman is temporarily out of the picture. Maybe we eventually get back to that at some point. So I think it's just a really stacked, and it's just perhaps Bobby Lashley gets a shot at the title, but I don't know that he carries the title. And I think it's just because there's too many people. And then and I keep forgetting the Revolution is in Canada. Not Revolution, Redemption. So I guess that's how you get your rematch. Kenny wants a rematch from MJF because he lost, and he wants redemption. So then he wins the tag title, but then you only have him hold the title for a month because that pay-per-view is sometime mid-July, and All In is August 28th or August 30th rather. So he holds it for 6 weeks and then drops it to Ospreay. I don't like that. I don't like. I know you want Ospreay Omega 3 in Wembley. Makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you should have belted Omega in April. Let him have a longer title reign. But I would keep the title on MJF, do MJF Ospreay at Wembley, then Omega be the one to take the title off of Ospreay sometime next year. That's how I would do it. But I also get Omega Ospreay 3 is such a big match, and Wembley is the biggest place that you can do it. So I understand that. I just don't understand I don't like Kenny Omega having the title for 6. I don't like him having a Darby run, but holding the title the same amount of time as Darby just so Will Ospreay can win. I'm not a fan of that, but I could see that being the case. Yeah, I enjoy that MJF has been defending the title on the Indies. He also said, I did see a report prior to his injury that he was going to be kind of cutting back on doing that, but I don't know if that's just a schedule thing or what that was. Yeah, and LeRon, yes, don't forget about Andrade, Bandito, Takeshita. They could all be world champions. Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches, and it's unfortunately not great for Bobby Lashley. Because there's so many people that could win the title. I mean, there's always, I don't know. That would not surprise me. The rumor Bobby doesn't like
stuff like that.
But hey, they made him work with Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
I don't agree with this for multiple reasons. A, because Bandito is one of the best fucking wrestlers in the world, and he has been the last year and a half. He's been incredible. Also, Tony Khan loves that man. He's the way that man loves Darby, he also loves Bandito in that same way. So I could see Bandito getting a world title run. Maybe not as short as Darby's, maybe not a super long one, but I could absolutely see him winning the world title, especially if they're going to if he's going to take that title to CMLL and have title defenses like he does with ROH, or they bring some CMLL guys here like they've done in ROH. I could see that being something that they do and have him hold a title that way. That is true. Bryan Danielson did not have a long title. He did not. You're right. Yes, and Kenny would not be wrestling every show like Darby for sure. Yes, I guess he doesn't need a long title reign. I just don't like a 6-week title reign for Kenny. Because once Kenny wins this title, it will probably be the last time.
Yeah.
And I want Kenny Omega, whenever he wins the title, to have a meaningful title reign. Because Kenny is at the point in his career, especially because his health is so unpredictable, that I don't know. Like, once he has this title reign, whenever it happens, I don't know that he gets it again. A, because of his health and things like that. But also, again, the title picture is so stacked that I don't know. And so I would like him to have an extended, even if it's only 3 months. It doesn't have to be 6, though. I would prefer 6 months. But even that doesn't have to be. I don't want a month-long title reign. I do not want him winning at Redemption to turn around and lose it at. I don't like that. And again, you can make the argument, maybe that's what Kenny wants. I don't care what Kenny wants. I am going to be selfish, and I want Kenny, when he has a title reign, I want it to be longer than 6 weeks. I think he deserves that. I think for everything that he's done for wrestling and everything that he's done for AEW, and because he's one of the best fucking wrestlers in the world and has been for a really long time, I think he deserves to have a long, meaningful title reign. And as a babyface, because his last title reign was the belt collector, which I loved. I love that gimmick. But I want babyface Kenny Omega to have, in a perfect world, babyface Kenny Omega would have a title run that lasted, 3 or 4 months at least. Laurent says, I think shorter world title reigns have this year have made the men's world title scene more interesting. Definitely, it has. And no, not everybody can be the world champion. However, we can't have that. We don't want to have the problem the other company has, where it's the same 4 people and it gets boring as fuck. Because I love Cody Rhodes, but God, if he should have dropped that title to Gunther, and they didn't do it. They might put it on Randy Orton, who is like about to turn 50, I think, if he's not already. He's close to it, and he's held the title. Like, that's what we're doing. And so maybe not everyone can be champion. However, I don't want the same people being champion over and over and over again. Because I hate that. Michael says ticket sales for Wembley are under 25 so far, so they may have to pull out the Omega versus Ospreay match to cross 35,000. Or you could do what we said earlier in the show and sign Motor City Machine Guns, bring them out in Detroit, and then you tease you make New Day be the second worst kept secret in wrestling and you sell tickets based off that, or you potentially hold off Motor City and debut Motor City and New Day at the same time to do that, and you give Kenny something else to do.
Yeah.
But let's see, Kenny to add cybernetic components to his body to extend his career and bring the real life Terminator vibes, and does the Terminator drum beat. Please do the Terminator drum beat on time. Please time it properly. Some of these nerds do it too early, or they either do it way too early or they don't do it on beat and it's a mess. And I'm like, you're embarrassing Kenny Omega. What are you doing? Okay. I knew there was something else I wanted to say. So unless there's anything else from the AEW thing, I did want to, before I forget.
Yeah.
Chris Lee and Cliff Baumgartner were on our show way back in 2024, which I didn't realize until I was posting the link to it. And I was like, oh my God, it's been almost 2 years. But they're in the award-winning documentary When Giants Walk Here. Originally aired on PBS in North Carolina, and they were trying to figure out how to get it seen by more people. And now it is on PBS North Carolina's YouTube page. So as long as you can access that, you might need a VPN depending on where you are on this globe. But you can now go to PBS North Carolina's YouTube, and it is right there for you. And I highly recommend that you go check it out because it's a really great documentary. Chris and Cliff worked really hard on it. They came and talked about it on our show. They were really gracious with their time and talked about some really cool stuff. And it was really cool to get a behind the scenes look at it. And they've won an Emmy for it, which is incredible. So go support them.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't gotten to
Support
catch
independent filmmakers, support wrestling and its wrestling history. Of course, it's in my state, so I have an extra interest in it because the Dorton Arena was not something I knew about until I read their stuff, and I didn't realize like how prominent it was. It was basically, from what some people say, the Madison Square Garden of the South, which is huge, and it was huge during Jim Crockett promotion time and the things that they were doing at Dorton Arena. And Dorton Arena is still around, and so it was a really cool thing. So I highly recommend you check that out. That is a good question. Has Tony Khan cooled off of Orange Cassidy in his singles title days? And I think if he's going to win a title, I could see it being the Continental title. Maybe he's international champion because national champion. He was international champion before. So I could see it being one of the, maybe even TNT. I could see it being one of the secondary titles. But I really enjoy him with the trio stuff. And it makes it more fun. And I love the conglomeration, especially now that Roddy is a willing participant. Tomohiro Ishii is back now to have his Hot Boy Summer is back on track now that he is cleared from his injury. The stuff with them and Leo Rush was so funny. It was fantastic. And I think, Maria, I meant to answer your question and then it moved. Leo Rush is not winning an AEW yet. And I said something about me and Nikki were talking about that. However, he is winning matches in ROH. I don't know if that is by design that he's winning in ROH and not in AEW. I can't tell yet if that's by design or what. I think Leo Rush should be picking up some more wins on AEW television, much like Juice Robinson should be picking up wins and the Bang Bang Gang. Also, speaking of promos, because they were talking about the Persephone one, please go to Beyonce's internet and go find the promo that Juice Robinson cut after his match, because it is fantastic. Like, Juice is a great promo, but when he is unhinged Juice Robinson, it is another layer. And this was more fun because he and David Finlay used to be a tag team together in Japan and in TNA. They were Fin Juice. And so he had some very choice things to say about both him and Clark that was unhinged and hilarious. And please go find it. I don't know that they will air that on television because of some of the things that he said.
Nice.
But please go find it. It is, I know I'm hyping it up, but it is worth the hype because it was so funny.
awesome.
I loved it. I don't think that Tony is denying us Eddie Kingston on television. Eddie is in ROH. He is doing lots of cool things there. He and Ortiz have been wrestling as a tag team. They've been helping the tag team division in ROH. And now they have added Mance Warner in the last few weeks. Mance and Eddie used to be in Second Gear Crew together before Eddie signed with AEW. They are doing they're doing some cool stuff down there. Mance and Lee Moriarty just had a proving ground match that was really good. Because, as I said last week, Mance is not a pure wrestler. He is a punch you in the mouth wrestler. And he was tweeting, he tweeted Tony and Caprice and Ian Riccaboni, and he tweeted it was a handwritten note that said, "Please send me the rule book because I don't know what the pure rules are." And then he punched. And then he did use even if he knew the rules, Mance did use a closed fist, which is he got a warning for. He did punch him. They actually went like, I think 7.5 minutes or nearly 8 minutes, which for Mance being the type of wrestler he is, he held his own in a pure match. It was really good. So I enjoy the stuff that he's doing. And LaRon, I have wondered the same thing because Eddie did come back from a serious injury. If he prefers being in ROH, he and Ortiz also opened a wrestling school, so they clearly like helping up and coming wrestlers and younger wrestlers. So I think that's kind of I think that's what they enjoy. He also was having obviously he's had mental health issues before. So I wonder if not being on national TV is something that's better for him at this stage. So he got a huge pop when he came out at 0 Hour. Clearly they were in his home state of New York. But I thought that, so I'm wondering, I think I'm wondering if Eddie is at this time.
He's just more comfortable there.
I think that because Tony appears to really, he really respects him. I think that he wants to, and the schedule is different. ROH films once a month. He can still do indie shows. He's been doing indie shows. He's done a few of them. He can still do his school. So that might be better. Maybe that's what he's preferring. Maybe the weekend and week out schedule, maybe that's been too much for him. Maybe it's just like, I can wrestle once a month. They film 4 episodes of television, usually on a Sunday, or last time I think was a Monday, but they film it, and then he can go back to doing whatever he's doing. So maybe the schedule works better for him. So I hope that he's not denying us off TV. I have the feeling that Eddie wants to be and Ring of Honor. And Eddie was a Ring of Honor guy for a long time. So I think, and he's doing the tag team stuff down there has been really fun. He can teach he and Ortiz can teach so many people down there. And then now you have the added in stuff with Mance. So you could have them go for the trio titles. Hopefully when Beast Morphos gets his Visa stuff, they'll drop the damn tag. Him and Sammy Guevara will drop the tag. But I think they want the rest. I think they're going to hold the titles because of Global Wars and the Grand Slam stuff. Crash says, when Jay comes back, do you think he'll be? Yes, I absolutely think he'll be with the Bang Bang Gang. Potentially he could join the Dogs, but they could do some story. There are a few storylines playing at the minute with the Dogs, like the tag titles and stuff, which is fair. I think at least initially, he and Juice are really close. I think they'll do that. And also I think Austin Gunn will jump Jay White if he tries to leave them. I mean, they could. That is something that he could do. He could eventually join the Dogs because and he is at his best when he is a heel. So that's something they could do down the line. But I hope when he comes back, it's with the Bang Bang Gang.
Yeah, me too.
If it's not, but they could. Yeah. And then Michael said, Persephone, it's not eye for an eye, it's an eye for all your asses. Great promo. She's a very good promo. I was, because I have it obviously, like when I saw in ROH and stuff, I mean, she was cutting promos, but not a lot. But when she did commentary last week, like she got to show more of her personality, and her promos have been really good. I mean, I was already have been a fan of hers. Like after I saw her in ROH, I was like, whoa, she's cool. She's amazing. And then they signed her to a dual contract, which is fantastic, and Persephone rules. So I'm glad to see her in the far. Maria says, "Do you think Ortiz and Santana reunite in the far future?"
Probably not.
I would say far future is more likely than near future, but from what I have gathered and from what they have said publicly,
I think it's from what I've heard, it's probably better if they just stay away from each other.
They have
some people just don't go together at
not
some point.
anymore. I think they did.
They grew apart.
That's a nice way to put it, is that they grew apart.
We'll just put it and they're professionals and they're gonna stay away from each other because it's better that way. And that's
I hate it because I love them together,
I do too.
I will, and I've said it a million times, I will never forgive Tony Khan for never putting the tag titles on Ortiz and Santana when he had the chance. I will never forgive him for that, and I will never forgive him for never belting Best Friends when he had the chance. Because that's not happening either, because unless Chucky T somehow grows an ankle, I mean, I know he's had surgery, but somehow can wrestle again. I don't see that. And Trent's a bad guy, so I don't know. That Michael has seen the Juice promo.
Nice.
Again, that's why they're not going to put that promo on TV. You're going to have to go to the internet.
Yeah, that's Juice's. I loved because he always was like on the post, the New Japan post interviews. His were always so fantastic.
Yeah, and he's
like him and Zach after G1 matches are some of the funniest freaking things I've ever heard in my life. And those two know how.
When Juice, and Juice was when he was the U.S. champion, and he was like dressed like a patriot. Like some of those promos, and like Kevin Owens said, he's like, I've been telling you, Juice is one of the best.
He's great.
He's one of the best promos in the business, and like that promo was so unhinged, but on brand. So please go watch it. I know, again, I've hyped it up, but please, it's funny. I thought it was hilarious. Yes, TK pushing Jericho and Hager or Santana and Ortiz in the tag division was crazy. What the hell was he thinking? I mean, Jericho was in his ear, clearly.
Probably. Most definitely.
But I will never forgive him for none of
his ear like
tag titles. Especially because AEW went the way that it did, and it changed so much from what AEW was in the beginning. Yeah. And I have a special place in my heart for the very beginning, like the first couple of years of that specifically. And those were those Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz, those were your two tag teams. Like both of those teams should have had titles, and to put them on Jake Hager, who now hates Tony Khan. It's crazy. And now I'm irritated that you reminded me of that. Thank you for that propane. Like, you're right. It's crazy. And I hope that, even if they never wrestle again, maybe they will get past whatever the things are. Maybe they'll be able to not be mad at each other or hate each other anymore. But sometimes there's just sometimes that just isn't possible. And we're lucky that we got them when we did. And probably not even in the far future. Most likely, I would say no. But it is wrestling, as we have said, and never say never.
Never say never.
Especially if there's a paycheck involved.
Exactly. Well, of course. Money makes a lot of things feel better.
Yeah.
Especially these days.
Mm-hmm. And in this business where things are tougher, definitely good. Nikki said that TK has a bad issue of pushing old WWE people when he shouldn't. I'm still angry that Santana and Ortiz were not pushed the way that they should have been. And that feels like a common thing, like not just the WWE thing, but I think a lot of people think that like Santana are mad about the Santana and Ortiz thing.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They were great. So no one likes it when your good thing goes away.
I think AEW is probably getting the Paramount deal. If the Paramount deal goes through, there's still a lot of legal things that have to happen. There's a lot of legal things that will have to happen in the next. AEW is under contract with Warner Brothers until 2027. I believe it's the end of 2027.
And they're making money.
Yes, and they're making money.
And making advertising money. Bringing in ad revenue.
Be on TV. I don't know if the Paramount deal has the hold up, and it's being scrutinized a lot. That deal is not finalized, no matter how much they try to say that it is. Deal is not final. Long way from it.
No.
So I think it's too early to say. However,
too early.
I think a Paramount deal could be beneficial for them. Tony has even said Paramount has NFL on it. I own an NFL team. It would be cool to have them under the same umbrella.
It also carries Premier League, so it carries Fulham too.
So he's got like that type of thing. And of course, Tony's gonna say, nice thing. But he has made it clear that he's friends with the Ellisons in the way that he is friends with David Zaslav. And also, Tony Khan was in well before wrestling. He's been in the NFL and the Premier League for years. He has all kinds of relationships with people. He also has his True Media company, which provides a lot of, he said it, and it provides a bunch of data for MLB teams. So like he knows a lot of people. So if the Paramount deal does not go through, then clearly that could change some things too. But the Paramount deal is a long way off from being finalized, I think, because I feel like there was something just a few days ago that it's being challenged again. I think I saw something the other day. So we shall see. It will definitely be an ongoing story that everybody will ask about every single media call until the end of time.
Not Sam, but everyone else.
Not me. I'm not asking because I mean, you
don't need to because you know someone else is going to.
Like, I would much rather ask something else. And generally,
someone else is going to ask, so you don't need to.
It's almost always the third question. Oh, that reminds me, real quick. Last night I was reading the screenshot of the Q&As, and somebody asked Sean Ross Sapp why Willow vacated the title and announced her injury backstage and not in the ring. And I was like, oh my God, Tony's going to think I asked that. He's going to think I wrote Sean Ross Sapp and asked him. It was not me. It is a question that I have asked, and I considered asking it on the media call. But I know what happened when I asked that question about Thunder Rosa. I didn't get invited to the next media call. Whether that's on purpose or not, that's what happened. He was not happy with me. He was very not happy with me. And then, whether it was on purpose or not, I was not invited to the next media call until I asked them later, hey, did a media call happen? I didn't get an invite. And I have never not gotten an invite since then.
Huh.
Again, maybe it was an oversight.
It's an accident.
Maybe it's just the timing. Maybe it's just
weird coincidence.
Oh. But also, I wanted to ask him, the more important question to me was, how are you planning to crown a new TBS champion, and when are you doing it? Are you doing it during the Owen or afterwards? That was a more important question to me. Though I did, because Nikki even suggested it. She was like, you should ask him why she dropped the title in a backstage segment. That's what Thunder Rosa did. And I did. It was actually because I was on live coverage, and so that was my hated, was that she dropped it. And I was like, unless it was her own choice because she was too upset to go in front of people. Everyone. And it was but he said he didn't know. So the answer was, I'm not sure why. It could have been for time constraints. But it was really funny that question popped up again. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, Tony Khan's going to see it. He's going to be like, Sam emailed. I know she had Sean Ross Sapp answer that question.
That damn time.
Not me.
Crazy.
If it was me, I would own up to it. But it was not me. Which just proves my point that people
it's a stopwatch person.
Yes. People did want to know why she dropped that title. It was not just me. Other people would like to know why you had your beloved champion drop her title, kayfabe or not, in a backstage segment, much like you did with Thunder Rosa. While when men dropped their titles, other than Don, I think the last one was Don Callis said that Kyle had to drop the title when he got injured, and that's because he wasn't at TV. But and for the most part, I believe, and I think the Rey Fenix one, when he got injured and dropped the international title after like a week because of injury, I think maybe that was the only other time that it was not addressed on, like, in the ring. So, but it was not me, however. Crash said could have slipped the follow-up in there in the Colombo South if they had not muted my microphone, because that's what they do. You ask the
mute you after you're done, otherwise you totally would.
Because you're muted for the call so that it doesn't pick up like background things. So then it brings up a thing. It gives you a prompt to unmute when it's your turn. it'll pop up, and sometimes that unmute button is miserable and you can't get through it. I mean, it takes forever to unmute. It's happened to me before where I'm pressing unmute like 12 times and it's not, and they're like, Sam, are you there? I can't get my damn mic unmuted. So, but it doesn't happen to me. It's happened to everybody. And then, so you ask your question and then they mute it again when the response happens so that it doesn't pick up. And maybe so you don't ask them a question. So I have not been able to follow up. I agree with you, Lauren. It should have, the audience loves Willow. It should have been, yeah. Especially, and the I think I pointed out too, the way that it happened. They did a backstage segment with somebody else, then did the Willow segment, and they should have done the Willow segment first and then done the other thing. And you could have had Willow cut the promo in the ring instead. So unless Willow was just like, I am too emotional and I am going to cry in the club and I cannot do this in front of fans, that is the only acceptable reason. Otherwise, we should have done that. Michael says, people are pointing out Willow was working the shoulder injury with Lena way back in Revolution. Should she really be wrestling with an injured shoulder for that long? That's why people think it's a work. But if she was wrestling with an injury and it got worse on that spot with Aminata, because she wrestled, not Aminata, Red Velvet, and she landed on that shoulder when she did she did a running cannonball off the apron, and Velvet moved, and so she hit that floor really hard. So if she was already working injured and she jammed it, and also Velvet was also working that a lot. So it felt, not saying Velvet hurt her, but like because they were working it so much and it turned into, and it injured, made the injury worse. That's my assumption. But again, it can all be a work. Maybe we're all getting played because I'm still not convinced that Kyle O'Reilly was really injured for the C2. I think they just didn't want him in it because Jon Moxley had to tell his redemption story. And so then they waited a while to bring him back. And then unfortunately his father passed. And then he came back like 2 weeks after that. But I'm still not convinced that Kyle O'Reilly was actually injured. Crash said TK slamming the mute button like a Tiat whack-a-mole session with Sam on the other side.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Occupational hazard.
Yes, it is. All right. I think we have come to the end of all of the topics. Thank you for sticking with us. I know we got to the other not so great stuff a little bit later than expected, but we also had some good conversation with you guys, which we appreciate. I also appreciate you not spoiling the Boss J final. Thank you for my wonderful co-host for making sure that you didn't do that. Thank you for that. If you knew, thank you for not spoiling it. Hopefully it does not get spoiled between now and me watching that match at some point this evening.
There you go.
And thank you. Yeah, but thank you for all of your support, especially with the Janel stuff. It's not a fun topic, but it's an important one. And it's something we are not going to let go of. We will be talking about it. And thank you just for always participating with us. And we've said it before, even if you aren't in the chat, and you're just watching, we appreciate that. And thank you for that. That was very kind of you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. We always appreciate you guys. It's nice having you guys here every week. Otherwise, Sam and I just talk to ourselves.
Yeah. And again, Mel and I we enjoy each other's, company and the conversations, but we enjoy and we enjoy having, different opinions and things like that. Even if you don't always agree with us and we don't always agree with you, we like having, that's what wrestling is.
It turns out you can discuss things and still be cool.
Yeah, it's the
wild, right?
So we appreciate it. Thank you, Fernando. I will enjoy the final, hopefully, and Gilles Gato makes somebody else cry like he did in his semifinal. Please go watch. Again, please go watch.
I'm gonna check that.
Robbie versus Fujita when they did TMDK versus TMDK, and Zach is like, I don't want any part of this. I'm staying home. Don't do this to me. I'm staying home. Yes, Nikki said, just so she knows, she had another nothing at all because Pac wrestled in his Ned Flanders gear last night. He did wrestle in, and I can confirm that she did say it as soon as she saw him. And Curry had said, enjoy the show, and always, I hope that means the other FTR, as in fuck the revival forever. Because that's how I read it. Thank you for what you do. And please make sure that you check out all the other great shows. Oh, I do want to mention real quick. Well, actually, I don't know if that. Never mind. I don't know if that knowledge is out there yet, so I don't want to say anything. But anyway, subscribe to Fight Game Media. There's always all kinds of great shows coming throughout the week for you, and go support them. And also go to PBS North Carolina's YouTube and go watch When Giants Walked Here, and go support local wrestling documentaries from good people.
Yeah, award winning.
Yes, Emmy award winning at that.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week, Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern.